It's time for Windows Weekly. Paul Thurrott's here. Mary Jo Foley is here. And, of course, we're going to lead off the show with speculation about what Windows 11 could and cannot possibly be. Lots of thoughts here. All three of us will express our hopes, fears, and expectations. And we'll talk about some new features in Microsoft 365, including a scheduler service for $10 a month and Vizio for free. And where is the Xbox Series X? Will I ever be able to get one? Paul Thurrott answers that and a lot more coming up next on Windows Weekly.
Podcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is Twit.
This is Windows Weekly with Paul Thurrott and Mary Jo Foley. Episode 728. Recorded Wednesday, June 9th, 2021. Organic Rounded Corners. Windows Weekly is brought to you by Melissa. Like expired milk, 30% of your customers' data goes bad every year. And for you, that's money down the drain. Visit Melissa's developer portal for free access to data quality APIs, demos, and code samples. Freshen up your sour data today with 1,000 records clean for free at melissa.com/twit. This podcast is supported by AT&T Active Armor. Right now, our lives are on our phones, and with our phones full of live-streamed exercise classes, midday work calls, and nightly family video calls, there is no room for fraud calls. Thankfully, AT&T makes customer security a priority, helping block those pesky calls. It's not complicated. AT&T Active Armor, 24/7 proactive network security and fraud call blocking to help stop threats at no extra charge. Compatible device and service required. Visit att.com/activearmor for details. It's time for Windows Weekly, the show where we cover the latest news from Microsoft with the two, the dynamic duo, the duet, the pair of experts.
Wow.
Yes.
The experts.
Experts, we call them. Paul Thurrott and Mary Jo Foley. Mary Jo Foley from ZDNet, all about Microsoft.com. Paul from Thurrott.com. Hello, you two.
Hello, you.
Hello. Hello. It goes to 11.
That's the rumor.
Yeah. So
How are we feeling about that name first?
I think it's got to be
over-under?
11 based on the fact they took that. We were talking last week about this, Panos Panay's tweet where they took the crossbar out in the
Yeah, but that's a lack of attention to detail as a Microsoft hallmark. That could be anything.
It is.
No, Paul,
Yeah.
come on. You've used Paint. You know that in MS Paint you actually have to take some effort to get that crossbar out.
I also know that you have to do that effect manually, and it's hard. And someone might have been like, you know what? It looks good as it is. Don't worry
We'll
about
just leave it. We'll just leave
No,
it.
and then
gonna
there are people. There are people who are speculating. Maybe they'll just do Sun Valley. Like Apple's using names like Monterey. Maybe they'll use Sun.
The
Windows.
two L's
Sun Valley.
in Sun Valley look like an 11.
Yep. Right. Yeah.
But that's a little bit of a stretch.
Is that a coincidence?
I think you've gone off the deep end.
I think I've just
So-
proven the existence of Sasquatch.
No, you know what? I care the least about the name out of anything.
By the way,
I do.
thank you. Me too. I literally wrote exactly that in an article. The name doesn't
Okay.
matter.
Yeah, you're right.
It doesn't really
matter.
matter.
It will have
The
a
only
name.
thing that matters, well, what matters to me is there a Windows 10 continuing alongside Windows whatever? And my guess is yes.
Yeah, so I saw your story. I think that there's a strong indication there will be a consumer and a business version of Windows from now on, which is funny because
Yeah, we've been calling on them to do this, and by we, I don't mean you and me. I mean a big body of people,
Right.
for decades, probably.
I know.
At least over a decade.
and yet Microsoft themselves took the dual tracks out. There was a dual track. There was NT and whatever Windows 95 and 98 were, and ME.
Yeah.
Well,
and they
there's been
unified
the
them.
Home Pro thing, and they've sort of gone up and down on what that means. And Home was always sort of perceived as being lackluster compared to Pro. Even
I always buy
arbitrary.
Home. I always buy Home.
Yeah,
and
then they made that big push where like, no, Home's is just as good as Pro. It's good for home users and gamers, and
Yeah.
and I don't.
I don't even know if it'll be permanently like this is for consumers and this is for businesses. I don't know that that's what they'll do, but I feel like for some period of time there will be two versions of Windows. And they may not position it as this is for consumers and this is for businesses because they keep trying to pretend like there's a reason they have this continuum, right? And that it's not really a separate set of features and it shouldn't be, which I totally disagree with, but that's what they always say when you ask them about that.
Right.
But I think they've got to have these two versions side by side at least for a while, right? Because it was Rich Woods today who pointed this out to me. He goes, you wrote about this, but they've already said there's going to be a long-term servicing channel release of Windows 10 this later this year, right? So that's not going to be Windows 11 or whatever, Sun Valley. That's going to be Windows 10 as it exists now, right?
To be clear, you said up front, the name doesn't matter, and I agree with that.
No, it doesn't matter.
It especially doesn't matter.
Tell that to your infant child.
I know.
The name matters. Only because we have to call it something so that we.
No, I know, but what I meant by that was like from a technical perspective, this is Windows 10. In fact, we've kind of gone back and forth over little theories about feature experience packs and how the latest feature update wasn't even just a cumulative update; it was something smaller.
Yeah.
And I feel like this UI and whatever other functionality they choose to put in this product are simply things that are going to be enabled through some enablement package, to use the term they use, and we'll see it appear in the Insider program, and it will just appear out in the world at some point. But that thing, no matter how different it looks from Windows 10, it's Windows 10. We're not shipping a new product here, right?
Yeah,
it's
right.
You got to remember, this is still Windows. It's just UI is going to be refreshed, and there'll probably be other features, but. I think we get a little caught up in it, like this is brand new, and it's like it's not brand new. It's same thing.
I know. No, I've seen people conflating Windows 10X and Windows 11 or whatever this is, right? So Windows 10. Windows 11 is not going to be this thing that they described with 10X, right? It's not going to be all your apps are containerized. It's running on Windows Core OS. It's not going to be that thing, right? We're pretty sure it's just like you just said, Windows 10 underneath with a bunch of stuff slapped on top, right?
Yep.
That's what it is.
Yep. It has to be.
So
they can't ship it in 4 months.
10X, 10X would have been something brand new. Right, like that would have been completely different.
Well, okay, but wait a minute.
Right.
Wait. Hold on. Maybe this is Windows 10X.
I know, and they try. They're trying to play fast and loose with that, saying we're taking a lot of the stuff from 10X and bringing it to
maybe
this
it
next
is
version.
though. Maybe they just didn't want anybody to call it 10X, so they said we're not doing 10X.
So.
We're doing 11.
No, so the reason and the reason is 10X was designed to address a different class of device. These were smaller, lighter devices with less system resources. They were mobile devices, right? Windows 10X was never designed as a traditional desktop operating system for traditional computers. Windows 10, Windows 11, whatever we're calling this next thing, it's just a new version of Windows. It's not.
Well, is it the new version of Windows, though? I mean, what is that? What is it? See, this is the problem, and this is why people want 11, because they want to pigeonhole it. What is it?
No, but you can't. It's 2021, right? We're not replacing Windows with something called Windows that isn't based on exactly the same code base. Like, we're not doing that. It's not. That's.
They need to give us a reason for it to exist, though. Don't you think?
Well, I think the reason is to re-energize the PC, right? That Microsoft woke up like the rest of the world last year that, oh my God, PCs are actually important. Thank God for the pandemic. That drove that little fact home to everybody. And now we're going to pay attention to it. And by the way, it never didn't make $11 billion in revenues every quarter.
Yeah, I know.
Like, what do you? How often does this have to happen?
One of the most succcial products of all time. I understand.
It never dropped. I mean, come on.
But here's my. I mean, for instance, if you wanted to get rid of Win32, which is kind of one of the things I hoped would happen in 10X. You might say, oh, this is Windows 11. It's not going to ever run legacy code. For that, use Windows 10. That would be interesting.
It would be theory. I mean, yeah, but as a real life product, it would be a disaster. I mean, in other words, like one of the things
nobody would buy it. You're saying,
yeah. I mean, like we've been down this road. We're going to call something Windows. It's going to look like Windows. It's not going to run Windows apps. How's that gone? Nobody. Those things have never been successful.
So, but you could run modern Windows apps. You just couldn't run old Windows apps, right?
Modern Windows apps are terrible.
Well, that's another
I'm
problem.
serious. By and large, right? I mean, this is.
Steve Gibson said something interesting yesterday, and I'm not sure I fully agree with him. But he said, really, the reason ransomware is a problem is because our operating systems are so buggy and insecure and unreliable. And I think there are other causes as well, but it is the case that if you didn't have all these exploits and flaws in Windows or even Exchange Server, things like that. So
Mary Jo has texted me.
Yeah, we had to have her restart because she was glitching like crazy.
Okay.
Yeah, I was.
So I was just pretending that she was just being unusually quiet.
I'm still glitching, and I don't know why. I'm on Ethernet. Everything's
unplug the camera and plug it. Oh, is the camera built in?
No. Should I unplug it and replug it?
Yeah, unplug it and replug it. Okay. Sriracha's, spit into it or something because she doesn't like the.
Right.
He doesn't like.
Stop paying attention to something else.
Who are these other people? Get them out of my house. But what if?
That's why
what if
he's banned?
This is why. So we were talking while you were gone. This is what we were talking about was the notion that really this new Windows should be something more than just a redesign.
No, but what?
Because there is a market demand for a reliable Windows. Otherwise, like you said last week, maybe they're just kicking the can down the road to Windows Virtual Desktop, and then.
Look, when we first talked about Windows 10X, I thought this container Win32 system made sense because it does solve that problem, right? But for it to,
that's why I don't want it to die.
No, but for it to work, it has to be 100% compatible. It has to be the same performance, and they failed on both those counts. So it's a little more complicated than. You can't just flip a switch and be like, we're on a new platform, except we are on a new platform. It's called an iPhone and an Android and, Chromebook or whatever. I mean, I don't see Windows ever fundamentally changing. I think they failed too many times for them to do that now.
I think they want to change it, right? Like basing Windows 10X on top of Windows Core OS and that whole plan for Windows Core OS to have all these different shells, they want to fix it. I don't think they can make it work. That's my guess. Like I don't think they've
that description you just said is NT.
Yeah.
That was NT.
Yeah. I mean, I think they still maybe there's somebody in Windows engineering who's like, no, we can get this to work. They just can't get it to work now. Right.
Yeah. I mean,
I want them to say, Steve Ballmer said it and it was wrong. This is the most secure version of Windows we've ever made. But I want them to say it with real something backing it up, and I think they could do that. And yes, they would have to say, by the way, that's why we're calling it a different version number because it is incompatible with legacy code. There's no Win32 subsystem.
Okay, but seriously, we got to step off this cliff. You're describing something. No, I love what you're describing. That's not what we're getting.
That's never going to happen.
This is literally someone throwing a can of paint at Windows. Like it's
right.
It's just not going to be that dramatic.
I agree.
I think I don't think the UI is superficial. I've kind of said this a lot.
Yeah.
I think refreshing things and making it look more modern is going to really help with the perception of the product. But I hope there's more. Although one of the other things I wrote, along with your idea that the name doesn't matter, is this notion that if that's all they do, I'm okay with that too. Honestly, that would be fine. I don't think they're going to go to the level that Apple does because they can't, because there are too many layers of, it's like an archaeological dig of old technology in Windows. They're not going to touch all of it. There's no way.
No, because who is the majority of those 1.5 billion users? They're business customers, and they don't want them to just throw it away, right? Like, they for them, they're like, you know what? It's ugly, it's slow, it's bad, it's this, it's that. But it's Windows, and I use it every day at work, and that's that, right?
I don't know. Do people say that? Because I like the way Windows looks. I prefer it to other platforms, and I think the performance is fine. Yeah.
Okay. Really?
Yep.
And you like Windows as a service and the servicing model?
No, let's not get crazy. No, that doesn't work at all. No, in fact, if anything, the past 3 feature updates, which I'm doing air quotes around, prove what I've been saying all along about Windows as a service, which is that it does not work. Servicing Windows to the degree where you're actually shipping a major new version of Windows twice a year has failed. That has not worked.
Yeah.
Doesn't work.
No, I agree. It does not.
Yeah.
Unless unless you just keep doing these tiny updates like they just did with 2004, 2002.
No, but that proves it doesn't work because those tiny updates aren't. They're not the thing we're describing.
I know.
The thing we're describing is going to, well, actually, I shouldn't say that because who knows? They have literally been screwing around with how to deliver updates to Windows for the past 2-3 years.
Right.
And maybe this thing will be a series of small updates.
I know.
Who can say?
That's kind of my guess. My guess is, here's my total guess at this point. And by the way, for people listening, we don't know. Like, we are not under NDA. We don't really know. We're just guessing here, right? We have, like, there are bits and pieces.
Well, but we're also using decades of experience with this company.
We are.
As kind of to form these opinions.
Agree. So my guess, again, is two lines, right? Windows 11 or whatever it's called and Windows 10. And both of these will get updates this fall, right? And there'll be Windows 11 getting some kind of a feature update, and then there'll be Windows 10 getting a feature update. And the Windows 10 one is going to be another incremental update, really small, on top of 21H1. This is just my theory, okay?
Yeah, I don't know what to say to that. I mean, there's a part of me that believes, we just briefly talked about Windows as a service and what a disaster that is. And now you're going to maintain 2 major versions of Windows at once. You can't even do one. What? Why would we be doing 2?
I know.
We have seen instances where cumulative updates apply to multiple versions of the operating system. Yeah. Maybe they could use that. Maybe that was part of the reason for that. They're going to ship Project Reunion around the same time. Part of the point there is new Windows features aren't tied to a specific version of Windows.
Right.
I could, I'm kind of just running off of what you just did. Yeah. Well, I'm riffing, I guess. If you have Windows 10 and a Windows 11 in market, I could imagine there being an optional update for Windows 10 that would provide the Windows 11 look and feel on Windows 10 because they're really the same thing anyway,
I know. Yeah.
I accept what you are saying with great
disgruntledly. Yeah.
But what it sounds like, and I think this is a disaster too, is the different versions of Windows just look different.
Sure.
Otherwise, they're the same. I don't get it.
Yeah, but you know what?
No.
But actually, that's an important. Go ahead. Because
we're talking about Windows 11 like it's only the UI that's changing, but there's other things that we are pretty sure are in it, right? The new store is a much bigger deal than the rounded corners, right? Way bigger.
Aren't they going to put the new store in Windows 10? Are you saying there's going to be 2 different stores?
I think the Windows 10.
That's a disaster.
No, wait. Windows 10 store as it exists today is a failure. But the store is just an app, right? The store is just an app. It's a UWP app, and they could just introduce it with Windows 11 and then maybe backport that to 10, right?
What's the distinction between 10 and 11?
Rounded corners,
artificial,
and better touch
that's absurd.
controls.
No, it can't possibly be that. Microsoft's not that stupid. It can't possibly be that.
We are not going to debate that one, but I think I don't know what to make of this. I years ago when we used to talk about after NT had become the OS and it was who knows what version we were on. Why doesn't Microsoft just make a version for consumers over here and then one for businesses over here? What does that look like? Right? The UIs could be completely different. They probably wouldn't be completely different, but they could be different. But really, what you're looking for is the same app model. The Win32, whatever, all that stuff is the same. Security.
Driver identity. Model has to be the same, or you drive companies insane.
Yep. Yes, it has to be the same. But the UI could be different, right? There's no reason why the UI couldn't be different.
But that you could do. I mean,
I know.
You could just have a plug-in.
Can I just say this whole setup of this is the biggest Windows release in a decade, blah, blah, blah. This is marketing, right?
Yeah.
This is like to help them make a demarcation and to get OEMs to be able to sell hardware.
I'm just wondering what the actual difference is. And it sounds like it's nothing.
I don't think that. Well,
it's a look and feel.
We're making way too much out of this. This is too.
I know.
We are going to be so disappointed when this thing is announced because it's really going to be so much less than what anyone who is an enthusiast wants. And it's when you say, it's going to be like the biggest Windows update in a decade. I mean, what happened in the past decade? Nothing.
I know.
I mean, well, when Windows 8 was a disaster.
Right.
They've been stepping back from that cliff ever since. And then Windows 10 is just set
So what's the case for Windows 11? Because Microsoft said, and people are going to call them to the carpet. This is Windows 10 is the last version of Windows. What's the case? What case does Microsoft with Panos Panay make when it comes on stage?
It's so easy to walk past that statement. You just say, we thought Windows 10 was going to be the last version of Windows, and then the world changed. And now we're addressing that need. And you see this, I know, but you see
with
this
rounded corners?
No.
I know.
No.
So, guys,
hold on.
Okay,
well,
go ahead, because I have an interesting thing about last version. Go ahead.
Oh, okay. But everyone who makes a platform is addressing this exact same need, which is this new hybrid work, blah, 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 whatever. That's what this is really about. It's enabling PC makers to continue the role where they're selling more machines, and they have to have certain high-end, well, relatively high, new hardware that doesn't exist in 5 or 10-year-old computers, and it's trying to get people to upgrade past the point where, frankly, I think they understand it's going to drop off a cliff again otherwise. So they're just trying to keep the excitement going. It's not about rounded corners, just is part of the modernization of the UX.
Let me see if I understand this. People won't buy a new PC unless there's a new version of Windows to put on it. That's
ding, 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 ding.
Traditionally why people bought a new PC.
Is that true anymore, though? I mean,
I don't know if that's true.
I don't think it is anymore. People
that
won't buy a new PC. I know, but today people don't buy a new PC unless they need one.
Right.
And increasingly, they don't need one in 3 or 5 years. They need one in 7 or 8 years.
Because
Intel
hasn't done anything in 7 years. So,
well, they added 2 cores like 3 years ago. Come on.
The only people buying new PCs
look what happened during the pandemic, right? Like some people bought new PCs, but most people took the PCs they had and they made do, right? So OEMs and Microsoft are sitting there going, how can we get people to go buy new PCs?
I think that's
okay. That's really the reason for this.
No, yes, this is absolutely the driver because when Windows just looks the same for so many years in a row, and Windows hasn't changed. Like, I bought a computer 6 years ago. It was Windows 10. What are we on now? Like Windows 16? No, we're in Windows 10. Oh,
right.
Why am I buying a new computer?
Exactly.
I really think that's the rationale.
That is it.
We'll see a spate of ads from HP, Dell, Lenovo saying,
of course.
Yep.
The new Windows is here. Get a new PC to match your new Windows.
Yep.
You know what's going to happen, though?
That's not going to fool anyone.
We're waiting
until... it's going to fool a lot of people.
January 2023. Yeah. We're going to see how PCs sold next year. And I don't think it's going to be a bonanza.
It's inevitably going to go down because there was an artificial bump because of COVID.
Yeah, if they can do anything to keep it flat or close to flat,
they'll be happy.
Next year will be a success. Yes.
I know. Okay, now before I forget, the idea about this is Microsoft saying this was the last version of Windows. So do you know Microsoft never said that?
I was just going to ask you that question.
Really?
This quote has been attributed to Satya Nadella, and
it's not true.
I was wondering the same thing.
Where did it come from?
A few of us have been researching this lately, and it came from a guy who Paul and I both know named Jerry Nixon, who is an engineer at Microsoft in Colorado. He said this during Ignite in 2019. And because Microsoft never corrected that, everyone just kind of started saying it, right? Like, so Microsoft said it's the last version, but no one in an official position that I can find anywhere ever said that.
Interesting. Yep. So the place to look that I would look if I really wanted to know, and I got to say, just like the name, I kind of don't really care because I don't think this matters.
Yeah.
It would be January 2015 when they did that event at the campus where they announced that the upgrade would be free. Yeah, well, I think that was part of it. It was the HoloLens introduction.
Yeah,
it'll be a free upgrade on PC and phone for the next year.
Yep.
And Windows as a Service was announced, which we were super confused by. And by the way, good for us because it's terrible.
What is Windows as a Service? I'm sorry. I apologize.
It's this.
Getting feature updates twice a year.
Oh, yeah, that's that. Cumulative updates every month. But it has exploded since the initial, vision. I mean, there are months where you install updates for Windows 3 times, like have to reboot 3 times. Yeah. If you're paying attention, it's crazy. Yeah. Like they've really escalated this.
So Mary Jo wasn't here when I said yesterday. Steve Gibson blamed the ransomware crisis on Microsoft's crappy software. That it's the fact that we can't make in 2021 software reliable. That's the cause of all of this. So
Yeah.
And
I mean, Microsoft would argue that's why they did Windows as a service, right?
Yeah. Well, look how well it's working.
Right.
So I would say that it is possible. Right now, the steely eye is going from it's government's fault because we didn't do anything for 4 years. That's what the MIT Technology Review said. I don't buy that. It's the fault of employees who have never been trained not to open spear phishing emails. Okay, but I have to point out those spear phishing emails wouldn't probably work if the operating system you were using was protecting you against that, or the mail package at least. And then, I'm just saying, I think the blame is eventually going to come down to
what this reminds
software.
me of, though? By the way, it is software for sure. That's right. I think it's a little tough putting the blame on Win32 specifically because I'm going to make a weird comparison here, but you just reminded me of this. When we moved here to the Lehigh Valley, this whole place is built on limestone, so the water has all these minerals in it, and you have to.
Water. It's very good water.
But it's bad for pipes and everything else. It causes that white, junk.
Yeah.
So what happens is every home in this area, and there must be millions and millions of them, has a salt tank.
Culligan, man!
And you have to fill it with salt.
Yeah, I do that
So
too.
I go to Home Depot or wherever once
Buy
6 months and buy, and 50 pounds. This is like a workout. You bring them home, you drag them down.
Heavy.
Yeah,
And
it's
you have to
stupid.
lift
Your
them
hands
up,
are killing you
pour
because
them
you,
in.
it's the worst.
Yeah.
So my whole thing, not having lived here my whole life, of course, I arrive here and I'm like,
I could tell by looking at your forearms that you are new to Lehigh Valley.
Yeah. Why is one of your arms humongous? Why don't you fix this problem at the source, at the water plant? Like, you filter it once. Why are we? Every person who lives in this whole area is going to this great effort every month, every whatever, to add salt to the water. Just add it at the plant. And I feel like this kind of applies to what we were discussing here. Like, if the problem is phishing attacks or spear phishing or whatever, human error type
Fix
things.
it at the source.
Fix it at the server.
Yeah.
Fix it up in the cloud.
Yeah.
That message should never make its way to that person's computer. And then once it gets there, if that thing causes like ransomware attacks and zombie computers and what all the other things that happen, I mean, why don't we fix it? We know we can't trust people.
Yeah, fix it upstream.
As COVID taught us nothing.
Yeah.
People can't be trusted.
So
fix it at the source.
I think that's going to be the pitch for Windows Virtual Desktop, which is never worry about this again because we're going to take care of this at the source. Microsoft will make sure you're secure.
That's
just
the
like
marketing
that's their
tagline.
pitch for the cloud, right?
Yeah.
That's
Windows as a service is terrible. Let Microsoft deal with it.
No, it's like that. It's like Windows Server. You can have it on premises and maintain it yourself, but we can do it better if you let us do it.
Well, that's the whole Office 365, Microsoft 365.
Let's not mention the Exchange server problems. That's another thing entirely.
Exactly. That's a whole other thing. But
well, what's a few vulnerabilities between friends? The point is,
exactly.
I don't know. I don't know what the point is actually.
No.
We shouldn't. Client systems are like the last point of at the last point of defense. I mean, if it's gotten to your computer, and Win32 is going to be a problem. I mean, that should have been fixed before it ever hit Win32.
True.
That's my opinion.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But anyway, back to the idea of the servicing model, and is that at fault for security issues? The problem with the servicing model is people hated it so much they started delaying applying patches, right? Because some people were applying them immediately, and then things were going wrong, and then they'd have to roll them back, or their clients were coming to them and saying, "Yeah, whatever you just did on Patch Tuesday, all my systems just broke," blah blah blah, right? So then people got in the habit of delaying all these, even feature updates and security updates, all the updates, right? And so you can blame that for some security problems and then try to say that's Microsoft's fault. But again, it comes back to people are the weakest link, right?
Yeah.
In any situation.
Right. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
I know. And
so
are they
Microsoft can continue
with
to
security?
They can just
with
evade.
Windows 11.
They'll continue to evade responsibility and continue and put out a round
I don't think that's exactly how they would market that, but
No, I don't need it. Yeah.
I mean, fundamentally, pretty much.
No.
Okay.
But I mean, it'll be interesting. Will there be like any security refreshes, fixes, updates that are built into Windows 11? Like, will they try to claim it's safer? I don't even think that's going to be a claim.
They're not going to mention it. Yeah. Because that would
Maybe.
imply
That's
that
funny
10 is
because-
not. That's the
okay.
problem with you're releasing 11 and simultaneously shipping 10. You can't say something negative about
No, you can't.
the prior world because you're still selling it. So basically,
Exactly.
it's a very, what's, so it
So,
sounds like the
Leo,
only,
here's what you know. Here's what they can't do, right? Like if you can't come out with something this fall, which is when we think Windows 11 is going to come out, and just say to the IT departments everywhere, okay, this is the new Windows and it's replacing Windows 10. Good luck, guys. Like here it is, right? And it just like companies would flip out, right? They would just like lose it.
I mean, I guess just to drag this out to infinite number of seconds. What if this was only made available on new computers like Windows 10 X was going to be?
I know.
What if it was not something that we could install ourselves? Like it actually required you to get a new computer. Now it's a tough sell because it's not like, Windows 10 X, you could have said, well, dual screen devices originally, something different, but I don't know.
I don't think it is. I don't think they're going to do that. I think there will be an update path from Windows 10 to Windows 11. I think there will be one, but I get the feeling Microsoft's going to let people do that at their own leisure up to a point, right? And not just dump it on them this fall and say, here it is. You got to start using 11 and stop using 10.
I had gone over that January 2015 event a few weeks back, and I kind of lightly reread some of the stuff I'd wrote. But one of the things I had forgotten about was there was a real confusion around this notion that Microsoft was essentially going to force people to keep their computers up to date. Like this is something they had never really enforced before. And I speculated at the time in writing that maybe what this meant was, if you don't keep your computer up to date, you're not getting support. Like we're not going to support you. Because it was just so confusing at the time.
It was.
6 years later, we've been so beaten down by the constant parade of updates on our computers. It's crazy. I know. Like, I honestly, like fixing something that fundamental to me would be a much bigger deal than the UI or the name, which everyone's so concerned about. How about fixing all the crap that's in Windows, like the stupid apps nobody wants, the advertising nobody wants, the privacy invasions that some people don't want. I think a lot of people don't really care, but not giving people the ability to say, no, you're not tracking what I'm doing. I don't care what it's for. Seems like a logical thing that should be part of Windows 10, even or Windows. However hard it is to get to that UI.
Yeah.
Those are much bigger issues to me.
I know they are, but they're not things that marketing can sell as nicely as like, look how pretty this looks.
Look, every time you make a browser and you say something like, look, the UI gets out of the way. We're getting the Chrome out of the way so you can see the content you came to see. I mean, you can make that same kind of argument about Windows without explicitly saying, oh, that last UI we had was terrible, which is the subtle side message anytime you say something like this. Yeah. We have foisted this UI on you for some number of years, and now we're fixing it. Aren't we great? I mean, there is a marketing approach to every fix, when you think about it.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I know.
It's going to get agitated before we. I need leaks or something because the next 2 weeks are going to be brutal.
I know. Well, we're going to keep looking for leaks, and I'm sure all our friends are too.
Let's just not have this conversation for the next 2 weeks.
Okay.
Just the elephant in the room. We're just going to pretend it doesn't exist.
So what we should tell people is the announcement of this. We'll find out everything there is to know. Maybe not.
Yeah.
On June 24th. That's a Thursday. So we're going to do on June 23rd, 2 weeks from today.
Yeah, that's right.
Is not do Windows Weekly on that Wednesday. We're going to do it on the Thursday after the Microsoft event.
That's good.
That's true.
And now the event, do you know how long it'll be or anything like that?
Oh, it's going to be an infinity.
No,
It'll feel like infinity. It'll be an hour.
That's my guess.
It's Panos Panay.
Panos and Satya.
Satya Nadella, yeah.
It is the most exciting version of Windows.
Satya will open up his MacBook to give the presentation, and
and that starts at 8 a.m. Pacific, 11 a.m. Eastern, right?
Right.
Which is 1500 UTC. So we will do that live stream. And if you want to, I don't know, you guys want to be with me on the live stream, watch it all together?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, let's do it. We'll watch it together and then immediately segue into Windows Weekly, in which you can say what a bunch of crap it is.
Actually, so
we just have to be able to write something.
Yeah, we have to be able to
you have to file. So, okay. So let's presume he's going to be done by 9, and we'll start the show at 10. Would that work?
Yeah, that should be fine. Yeah.
So 10 a.m. Pacific, we'll do Windows Weekly, and we'll be done by noon, which means we can get our other shows on
Get on with our lives.
Get on with our lives. Disappointed that once again, Microsoft
but seriously,
does not fix
maybe
Windows.
just round robin, whatever you want to call it, question to everybody here. What do you think it's going? What do you think it's going to be? Like how dramatic do you think this thing is going to be? Really?
So, may I start?
Of course.
You're the only other person here. I don't know.
There will be
I mean, you too.
You're not asking me. I don't. Oh, okay. Go ahead.
No, I am asking.
There will be a very dramatic sizzle video because Panos loves those, right? With sounds and gears and then they'll be, here it is, right? And then we will get zero details about specifics because that never happens when Panos does an event, right? Like we won't get a whole list of the new features or anything like that. He'll be like, look at the beautiful rounded corners, blah, blah, blah. And then after the event ends in an hour, we'll get a spec sheet sent to us by email so that we can write a story.
So let me just break down what you said. An exaggerated video, rounded rectangles, and a spec sheet. That's pretty much what you're expecting.
Yeah, see, because I'm really baffled by this. You have because if you're going to continue to set a Windows 10, you can't in any way be negative about it. So you can't say in any way this is better, or can you?
But Apple does this every single show they have. They never say that last thing we had was crap. But what they always say is 40% this, blah, 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 this,
That's
clearer,
because
cleaner,
the new thing is replacing the old thing. But in this case, or maybe I'm wrong, is Windows 11 replacing Windows 10?
See, that's a matter of speculation.
All right.
So if it's not, it's problematic.
Windows, right. Normally, yes, a new version of Windows replaces everything that came.
Yeah, then you can say, oh, look at all this new stuff. But you got a problem if you're still selling Windows 10. You have to differentiate.
I don't personally see any way that these things continue forward together, except for that long-term servicing thing that you were talking about. For businesses that want to stick with what they have for X number of years, short period of time, yes. But I this becomes Windows. I don't.
That's easy
at some point.
Then it's not as difficult a challenge because you do exactly as you said, with Apple does and everybody does, which is. Love this, beautiful, fast.
Well, but Leo, where are they going to land? Where do you think they're going to land, realistically speaking, or not realistically? In your own mind, what is your expectation?
I'm baffled because I know what I would like. I'm going to take. You guys are the experts, so I'm going to take your word for it that really the point of this is to sell new PCs.
Don't. This is all speculation.
So it's going to be a lot of marketing hype about how you're going to want a new PC to take advantage of this.
It's sunny and it's showering. I could see light
that
pouring
means,
in
you know
the
what that
window
means?
and I can hear rain.
You know what that means, Mr. Grump? A rainbow.
Oh.
Why can't there always be rainbows?
I don't get to see rainbows from my cave, so.
You know. Now you're making me think, though, Leo. Maybe they'll trot out a couple OEMs with a new PC.
There you go. But what could be?
Here's Lenovo with this new
What could it be
thing
that makes you want a new PC? What could they do with Windows that would make you say, "Oh, I got to get this, and I got to get a new computer to go with it"?
I can't even imagine that.
Okay, so I have a crazy idea. You know, we talked last week about they're going to play up this community angle too. Like they dropped that in a hint to Bloomberg. And we said Teams, right? So what if they built Teams in some way? Or what if the community is Xbox? And what if they build gaming in some way?
You're on the right track. It's not that Windows looks different or is different. It's a special version of Windows built for you. And you know what? Yeah. Apple just did this at WWDC. All of the new things they announced for macOS and iOS 15 are about collaboration. They have stuff in FaceTime, lets you watch movies together. Mary Jo, you nailed it. This is Windows Teams.
It's actually even, it could be even more evidence of that, what she just said, because I don't know if it was like the current version in testing or the previous version, but at some point, remember they have those, it's kind of a profile choice at the beginning. What are you going to be using this computer for? right? If you think about the questions that Microsoft asks you when you set up a new version of Windows, one of them is, are you setting this up for you or for your organization?
Right.
Yes.
Right. And then it says, well, okay, but what are you going to use it for? You're going to use it for gaming. You're going to use it for productivity. You're going to use it for whatever. And today there's very little that happens. You get maybe one icon on the taskbar, but there you could do so much more. So we have a Meet Now thing, for example, that's built into Windows. Today it's only attached to Skype, but if you sign in with an Azure Active Directory account, maybe that thing becomes Teams.
Right. Or if you just signed in with a Microsoft account.
I got it.
Yeah.
Because this means also new hardware with array mics, with special cameras. This is what you're going to do. You're right. You're going to have OEMs on the stage. This is Windows 10 or maybe Windows 10 Family Edition.
Yeah.
And then you get one. But the thing is, your mom has to get one. Your daughter has to get one. Your aunt has to. Everybody has to get one because this is the new Windows 10 Family Edition.
You know what? They're so hung up on the family everything. That could totally be the pitch.
And this way, the OEMs say, we're going to put new features in for collaboration and for hanging out together. And in fact, Samsung's going to make a Windows 10 Family TV set.
Yeah, but
what do you think, Paul? You don't buy it.
Well, the problem is not every week, but almost every week I sit in a briefing with some PC maker about some computer. I just sat through one yesterday for an hour and 20 minutes. And the multiple mics, the array mics for Cortana or your assistant of choice, all that stuff is all there. It's already there. Like this is
they have to make up something,
Well,
the camera follows you around, or whoever's speaking is the one that zooms in on. Teams is integrated because you're going to want that makes sense.
I think Teams integration in Windows is as logical as integrating a web browser into Windows at this point.
Yes.
It is the same thing as Microsoft putting IE in Windows 25 years ago or whatever that was.
Yes.
And
that's where they're headed, clearly.
Yeah, and making this thing more of a client for Microsoft 365 to me always makes sense anyway, right? You see this with a lot of new PCs who come pre-installed with all the Office apps. You just sign into your account and away you go. Maybe that becomes the standard load.
Built-in VPN, built-in remote access. So you're working at home. The Office computer is you connect automatically. You're working with your Office teammates, but you're also, you know what? Because Apple saw the writing on the wall and is doing this. You know what's interesting? I thought, they're all late. When Microsoft released the camera, I thought, they've been developing this for a year. Too bad COVID's over. But you know what I've realized is nobody wants to come back.
Right.
Already, Apple's employees are writing letters saying, "What are you making us come back for?" Our employees are saying, "No, we kind of like this working at home thing."
I'm tired of you people figuring out my secrets. I got to say, this is the worst thing that happened last year. I need the rest of you to go back to work. This is ridiculous. I stay home, you go to work. I don't know why this changed. I will give you the last
Everybody
year.
wants what you've got, Paul.
You got to leave.
Nope. We all want what you have. Nope.
This was my biggest life secret of all time, and you have all ruined it.
It's not everybody, but there is at least 30% of the workforce loves working at home.
Of course.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what if you build in
Microsoft wants. Now, who are they going after? Prosumers. We talk about this a lot, like productivity-minded consumers, right? Like that's their
but also families.
And also families. I agree.
Because one of the reasons PC sales went through the roof is because Junior had to have a computer for his school. That's everybody needed a computer all of a sudden. This is Microsoft says, wow, instead of a computer in every home running Windows, a computer in every room running Windows, right?
Yep, exactly.
Well, a device in every room running Microsoft software.
Yeah, there you go. That's okay.
Yeah. No, the Teams consumer features, if you look at them, they're all built around the idea of families, right? Like families talking to each other over Teams and families doing lists together and organizing events together. It's very family centric.
I don't think the Microsoft, the Microsoft Teams consumer stuff is ever going to take off in a meaningful way. I just...
Chris Capicella has just jogged off the road because we have figured out exactly what they're doing on June 24th.
They're on to us.
Panos, quick, change it. I feel like this is what's going to happen. There's Windows for work, and there's Windows for home. And on the Windows for home, we are going to really make it be exactly what you and your family want. How about that? And it might not just be laptops or nobody's buying desktops, but it might just not be laptops. Maybe it's like the Duo and the Neo, and maybe there's different form factors.
I feel like we just have all this stuff already. Well, but we do.
Yeah, we do. But that's what marketing does, right? Marketing takes stuff you already have and they make it look fancy.
Windows for teams and teens.
Teens or teams?
Our teens.
Teams of teens.
Windows Teams Edition.
Teens
Paul,
or teens.
Given that the apparently the only rationale we can think of for this is they want to sell more computers, help the OEMs out here. That kind of makes sense. You make a special package.
It does.
There's a history of that, frankly.
It does.
Sure, we got it all. That's why we don't have to work so hard. We can just take what we got and mush it together.
Yeah.
Anybody want to buy a Connect? We could put it on top. It'd be great.
In fact, we got a bunch in a warehouse and nobody ever sold. So
I brought my.
I don't know what you
They
guys
just
think
play
about
you
a
some
webcam on the
HoloLens.
top of your computer that's like
I do
12 inches wide.
every 6 months I do a Leo's garage sale in the conference room and I bring in all the old crap and I brought in my old Connect. I notice it's still sitting on the table.
Nice. That's the one thing.
Because everybody's like, what do we do with this?
What do you do with
I think
it?
I still have 2 of them in the cellar.
Yeah, there's nothing you can do with it.
Yeah.
So I think maybe now
I think we're onto something too.
we're onto
I
something
do.
because I otherwise I don't understand why you're doing this.
I know.
Well, okay,
They
but
gotta get
there
fancy.
but there are less dramatic reasons. I mean, Windows has sat still for several years now. This is a product that didn't have direct leadership for 2 years.
Right.
This is the thing. Like I said, I think I threw out the number 11 billion, whatever the figure is, some several billions of dollars every quarter in revenue, has never really gone down in any dramatic way. The problem is it hasn't risen as fast as some of Microsoft's other businesses. But still, seriously, it's like,
What if you build in support services, kind of like Intune for the home?
Right.
Because that's honestly the one problem.
But now you're stepping toward this cloud PC thing. I mean, if we're going to do
that's what you
management
want to
from the cloud,
do ultimately, right?
yeah. I mean, maybe. I mean, for some people, for sure. That could. It's not going to solve the problem that Steve Gibson raised, but I mean.
Well, I gave up on
help.
that.
Could help.
I just kind of gave up. I agree. I would love. I mean, look, I already said since I'm not getting the Windows I want.
Yeah.
What could I get?
What will I be getting? And I think this makes at least kind of makes sense why they're doing it. Yeah, Windows has sat still, but if you say that moving ahead is rounded corners,
Right. No one's going to say that.
That's a really sarcastic way of describing a new user interface. I mean, it's more than rounded corners.
No, that's what I call it. That's my.
But a new
short
UI, is that really going to get anybody all up? Well, maybe it
It
will.
got everyone excited last year with Mac OS
Yeah.
Big Sur.
No, that's true.
Exactly. No, and Panos cares a lot about design, as we've
Right.
seen.
Okay.
Like this is his favorite thing.
And the Mac is
He'll have a
making
new
it look
story.
silly. I mean,
No, he'll have a new story about Flow, but this time it won't be called Flow. It'll be called
Right.
something else, right? And it'll
Right.
be like, here's why you need the rounded corners. He'll never say rounded corners, right? But he'll like show.
well, it's more organic looking, or
Yeah.
colors. that are
Because
based in
unfortunately,
nature.
rounded corners is associated with Steve Jobs, so you're definitely not going to
That's
say
true.
that.
That's true.
yeah.
It's
So,
like dating
no,
back
but
to
you know,
the original Mac.
Mm-hmm.
yeah, he's just going to make it look really like this is going to make you so much more productive, just like the Hinge.
Okay.
Waiting for Paul to cringe. There it
God,
is.
it's like a Hinge made of software. Windows 11. God, now it's like thundering out there.
All right, let's
yeah.
take a break so Paul can go find the rainbow.
Is it the end of times?
It is the
I
end
hope
of
so. I'm
times.
so tired.
Yesterday was the end of times here. Ooh.
Really? So
Lightning hit the Empire State Building 3 times. I'm just
wow.
telling you.
Well, it is kind of sticking up there, kind of saying.
It is.
Hit me, hit me.
The dog's trying to break into my office. She's scared.
Oh, go cuddle your
right back.
your pooch,
I'll be right
your good boy, and I will talk to you about our sponsor for Windows Weekly today, which is Melissa. Ever forgot to check the date on a carton of milk? It happened to me the other day. You really don't want to put that on your Cheerios, but did you know that, like milk, your customer data is also going bad? In fact, up to 30% of customer data goes bad every year. People move, phone numbers change, email addresses change. And maybe you didn't get it right in the first place. You ever think of that? Melissa makes sure your data is accurate and current so you reach the right customers. And they've been in this business for 35 years. They've been helping businesses maintain fresh data. That's why over 10,000 businesses trust the address experts. You can verify addresses, but also now emails, phone numbers, names even in real time with Melissa. You know what I hate? When they capitalize the P in Laporte. Melissa would fix that. Melissa's global address verification service verifies addresses not just in the U.S., but in 240 plus countries and territories. They can even do it at the point of entry. So it's not unusual for customers to flip a number in their street address, and all of a sudden you're sending bills or brochures or catalogs to the wrong address, wasting your money and time. Customer service reps, same thing. Sometimes they type in something wrong. But with Melissa, you can actually, they have a variety of ways of delivery, but you can actually validate existing customer data at point of entry. You can find new customers too. You can eliminate duplicates. Melissa's data matching eliminates clutter and duplicates, means that you can increase the accuracy of your database and cut your costs. Get the information too to complete your customer profile so you can know your customer better. You can add things to your records like property data, marital status, social media handles. And Melissa's very flexible in the way you can deploy it. Of course, on-prem, there's a web service. You could upload it using their secure FTP processing and then download a cleaned up list. There's SaaS. Melissa also has their new lookup apps, literally apps on iOS and Android to search addresses, names, and more. And you can do it right at your fingertips. And by the way, never have to worry about the privacy and security of your data because Melissa continually undergoes independent security audits because they are committed to your data's security, privacy, and compliance requirements like SOC 2 and HIPAA and GDPR. Melissa is so good, they just were named a leader. Congratulations, Melissa, in address verification by G2 Crowd in the spring 2021 report. And of course, they're still supporting qualifying essential workers and communities during COVID-19. Your organization could qualify for 6 months of free service. Just apply online at melissa.com. So, bottom line, why are you putting up with sour customer data? Freshen up your data with Melissa. Try their APIs in the developer portal. That's another way you can use them. Sign on, log on, sign up, and start playing in the API sandbox 24/7. And as a little sweetener, so you can fix your sour data, sweeten it up, 1,000 records cleaned for free right now when you go to melissa.com/twit, MELISSA, melissa.com/twit. We thank them so much for their support of Windows Weekly. We thank you for supporting us by using that address, melissa.com/twit.
My dog, who was a serial killer, is cowering under my desk like she's a baby.
Oh.
Yeah, they don't like lightning. They don't know what's going on.
Yeah, she gets very...
The sky is mad, Daddy. Why is the sky so mad? What's Sriracha doing? Is he just like, I don't care?
Last night he flipped out.
Really?
Flipped out. Yeah. Yeah.
Poor little guy.
But he's good now. It's not yet storming here again.
We don't, lightning strikes have a worse meaning here. Because it's so dry.
Fire, right?
The last 2 years ago, the big fires were started right around now by lightning, which is very rare. I mean, the good news is we don't have lightning. But when it happens, it's very problematic. All right, well, we've solved the world's Windows 11 issues.
I don't think we have at all, but...
No, but... we have some fun speculation.
I will say this. I feel bad sometimes for the community, and by the community, I'm talking about those people who are kind of Microsoft or Windows enthusiasts, especially Windows guys, right? We've been kind of on the receiving end, for a long time, and so naturally there's some excitement here. But I just feel like if history is any guide, they're going to lose interest again in about 3 months. So, not the Windows enthusiast Microsoft. I mean. I don't know. I just don't expect too much here. I really don't. I don't expect much more than the UI, and I don't expect the UI to be totally consistent.
Did you
over
see
all the
that
legacy
Microsoft's announced that they're pausing updates?
Yeah.
Yeah. But
Because
that's not that surprising, right? Because
just for insiders, because they don't want to leak anything out.
Dev channel, right? Like you don't want to give the dev channel something and then people dig into it and they're like, oh, look, here's Sun Valley, right?
I got it.
Right.
Yeah.
I got it.
Right.
That makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
So in a way, it could have been part of the insider builds.
Well, okay. So, if you dig into some of these latest insider builds, there's references to 21H2 in there.
Right. Maybe that is this 21H2?
I don't think this is 21H2. I think 21H2 is Windows 10, the next version coming in the fall. And then there's this thing, Sun Valley, Windows 11. Different.
I think they're both going to be
Maybe I'm
21H2 and that
You do?
there will be,
Yeah.
I'm just going to call it an enablement package for lack of a better term for the UI and for some of the other features. Like I think they're going to let businesses stay on the old UI for some, again, small amount of time, like 18 months or something. I don't know. I have a hard time believing there's going to be two windows,
I know. So if you're right and it's just an enablement package to give you Windows 11, then that really kind of shows it's nothing, right?
Or it shows that the changes they've made to Windows as a service and all of the different ways you can update Windows
Feature
have borne some
experience
kind of fruit, like it's actually worked out.
Okay.
I'm just trying. Look at me looking at the positive side.
I know. I'm like, is this Paul saying this? Like in an
I don't know why
upbeat
you're so
manner?
critical of Microsoft, Mary Jo. I don't know how you sleep at night. I mean, it's an awesome company.
No, so let me just be clear. I would love to be wrong about this event, and I would love that it was something really huge and amazing. And at the end, Panos stands up and says one more thing and whips out a Surface Neo. That would be like amazing, right? But I'm just my hopes are low. That's all. But I hope
honestly,
I'm wrong.
that scenario you just outlined is more believable and possible, I think, than Windows 10 and Windows 11 go forward hand in hand. Like that I could believe, and that there's your new hardware. We have worked with 3 of the top OEMs, HP, Lenovo, and Dell, and they're all putting out dual screen or folding screen hardware that's going to run Windows 11. That as well as Neo. Maybe.
I know. We don't know where Neo is in terms of being postponed. Like last we heard, maybe it was going to show up next year, but things keep changing. So I don't know.
Man, I need this to happen so we can get past this.
I do too. I know. I'm like, I want June 24th to go by so that we can get back to normal work.
Yeah. Well, now that we've gone through 1/24 of the notes,
all right.
1 hour into the show.
Oh no, but okay, wait. Let's talk about the Android emulator thing though, because that.
Oh yes.
I've already seen. MS Power User already wrote a story, not crediting you, by the way, about this. So, so Paul got. Can I explain this?
Yeah, please do.
Paul got a tip. That if you look at the pre-release of the next version of Windows Subsystem for Linux, that there are references in there to an Android emulator. Okay, and so there were, and now they're gone. So
interesting.
Yep, they've been pulled. So the question is, why is there an Android emulator in WSL? Is it just somebody speculated with you on Twitter that it was just for something like nested apps or something? But then the other theory is, or this is how they deliver Android apps on Windows.
I saw, someone speculated it could be related to software development. That Microsoft does have no, they don't. I'm sorry. Google has an Android emulator that Microsoft uses.
That's right. The SDK, right? Yeah.
Yeah. So if you're developing like a Xamarin app today, you can run Android in emulation to see how your app runs on that platform. Like that's one of the things you can do already. Yeah. And if that thing ran in WSL, conceivably it could have closer to native performance and it would be better for developers. And given what WSL is for, that's credible. It could be for developers.
Right. So if you go into WSLG on GitHub and you look up the release version 1.0.23, that's where it was. The two references to the Android emulator, and they're both gone.
What does the G in that acronym stand for? I know it's Windows Subsystem for Linux.
GUI apps. I think the GUI-based apps, is it?
It sounded like ice just fell off my house.
It's now hailing on
Oh
top
my
of lightning.
God.
No, like, you know when a section of ice breaks off and it makes that kind of crashing sound? Anyway, I'm sure it's not my house falling apart.
Okay, good. I think it's G for GUI-based apps or GUI. You know how you can put GUI apps? I think that's what it is.
That's got to be.
Yeah.
No, it's got to be. Yep. Okay.
But yeah, so there was the whole Project Latte, Microsoft adding Android apps to Windows. Like, how is that going to happen? Is it going to happen through the new store, or is it going to happen through WSL? We don't know, or both. Who knows? But once you posted that little thing on Twitter about Android emulator, it has now disappeared. So obviously, it's a tender subject.
Okay.
Wait a minute, though.
Right.
Look at changes. On the
Is it still there?
it says fix Android emulator window doesn't move and crash at minimize.
Yeah, there you go.
You see it? Okay, because I don't see it now. Oh, no, there it is. I'm sorry. It is still there.
It's still
I didn't
there.
see it, but it's still there.
So click
Fix
on that
Android.
and see if it.
Okay.
We'll just click any one of them and just see if it mentions anything about what the, because like I said, they're
Right.
Microsoft uses this for developers would use it.
Oh, it could be some. I could see who did the commit if it was somebody. Yeah, no, it's committed by Hideyuki Nagasai from Microsoft.com.
NTDev. That's amazing.
NTDev.microsoft.com.
NTDev.microsoft.com.
No, you're right.
So,
it is still there. I didn't see it. Now it is
yeah,
there. Yeah,
look
you're
at
right.
that.
I thought they took it away. Yep. So it's talking about Wayland position, right?
So Wayland is the compositor for X Windows, modern X Windows.
Okay.
So this is a GUI.
I'm gonna look. This could be nothing.
weeds.
This is literally
I know.
about this
Yeah.
says Surface State. Like, in other words, running a Surface Duo emulator, and then I don't know why you would do this, but maybe hitting it via VS Code for Linux or something. Actually, it doesn't matter where VS Code's
Something called Android emulator exists, though. I mean,
we're already using it today. Like, I think this just makes it run
In the
faster.
SDK.
This doesn't necessarily mean
Oh.
it. You wouldn't want an Android emulator as a user. What you would want is the ability to expose apps in Windows.
That's true. That's true.
Right?
Yeah.
okay, but it
I
is a
think the way to do
GUI
it-
called an Android. Android. I mean,
No, I know, but it could be for developers.
but-
I mean, WSL
right.
is mostly for
Yeah.
developers.
okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. All right.
No, I think if they do Android apps, the best way to give those to users would be through the store, right? It wouldn't be expect a normal user to use WSL to run an Android app, right?
I
Right?
mean, if you didn't know that's what was happening under the covers, it wouldn't matter, right?
If you
But
could hide it.
I can't completely discount it, but the more I look
Yeah.
at this, the more it seems like this is probably just related to making that Android, because Android emulation is, if you've ever done this, like with Android Studio,
Yeah.
can run pretty poor or pretty good. But if they figured out how to do Linux GUI apps, I mean, maybe this is a system for running those things faster too.
True. Okay.
I don't know.
Anyway, it was a little interesting tidbit.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. And all we're going to get is rounded rectangles, guys. So, Android apps is hilarious, but
Well, and all the rumors about Android apps say next year. They don't even say this year. Like everything I've seen about Android apps running on Windows, it's not even a 2021 thing.
Right.
By the way, Lawn Dog in our chat room has logged into a Windows computer running 21H2.
Okay.
Do you care?
No, because this is something like I think this is something that already happens, right? Like, is it
According to
Windows
WinVer,
Insider
it's
build?
21H2 19043.1023.
I've seen reports about this happening.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not like he's like, oh my God, the UI is completely different. It's not, it's not.
Okay.
That's why, but again, I think 21H2, I think it is going to be 21H2, and that what a lot of the work we didn't understand over the past 2 years has been working toward this moment where they can split things. Like the UI is not tied to this version. It will
you could be
it's
right.
something. It could be applied to any version of Windows 10 that's currently supported.
Yeah, you could
that's
be right.
that's my belief.
But the one thing to remember, too, is Microsoft supports multiple versions of Windows 10 simultaneously at any given time, right? Like right now, you're still in support if you're running 2004 and 20H2, right? You don't have to be on 21H2 right now.
That's right.
Or H1.
That's right.
So that would make sense why Windows 10 would continue to exist, too, right? The plain old Windows 10. without Sun Valley.
Look, no, with the understanding that nobody is developing brand new big Windows apps today, right? That only run on Windows.
Right.
It gets even worse when you filter Windows down to all the supported versions of Windows 10, and then Windows 7 is sort of supported, and Windows 8.1 is still supported.
I know. That's
and
true.
Why on earth, if you were a developer, you're already like, look, I don't even want to make a Windows-only app, but it's like, okay, but look, now we have Windows 11. Windows 11 has all this new UI stuff. It only works in Windows 11. Why would anyone choose that? Nobody would ever do that.
I know. You're
right? It just doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
That day it's gone.
Right. Yeah.
I think. I don't know.
No, I think you're right.
We just never get us. We can't get off of this.
All right, let's talk about Windows Virtual Desktop now with a new name. Windows 11 Virtual Desktop.
You guys think there's going to be more Windows? Well, there's going to be less Windows in this thing.
I am convinced that this is the future of Windows. I really am. I don't know why anybody would want to do this.
So you don't mean exactly this thing, though.
Well, what is this thing?
Right.
This is not running Windows in the cloud?
So this is for enterprise customers, right? Oh. Windows Virtual Desktop, now known as Azure Virtual Desktop.
Oh,
this is where, if you're a big enterprise, you can virtualize a Windows 10 or even a Windows 7 desktop if you have certain rights, and all your Office apps on top of that and run it virtually.
We do that for a case of fire shutdowns. We have it's on Amazon, but same idea. Virtualized desktops with Premiere and all that stuff for editors.
But the thing you're thinking about, Leo, is the thing we've talked about called Cloud PC.
Right, it is what I'm thinking.
Right,
about, yeah.
Which is related to this, which was built on top of Windows Virtual Desktop, and has not been officially announced, confirmed, or anything by Microsoft, even though it exists and there are many customers testing it right now. So that's the thing you're thinking, though, where you don't have to pay for all your Azure resources by consumption like you do with Windows Virtual Desktop, which makes it very expensive for normal people. But Cloud PC will just be a package, right, where they say to you, $10 a month, and you can run your apps, your Windows apps.
Is it possible that that's what Windows 11 is?
I know. Some people thought that, but I don't think it is. No. I think they're two separate things.
I don't think so, only because it's not inclusive enough.
Right.
There are too many people that just don't have constant good connections.
Oh, that's a good point. You're right.
You know,
that is a good point.
Yep. But for people who do, this seems like, especially in business, where you could just say, look, you don't have to worry about ransomware because we'll make sure your data is protected and safe.
There's
the day I could run that way, I will.
Wouldn't you?
There is, guys, I'm telling you, there's something happening already on the PC client that is going to help to get us past this ransomware stuff. You know, I don't want to. I don't think it's a secret, but I had it. Like I said, I had this briefing yesterday, and one of the things that they were talking about is this, and it's optional, but you can get it's like a little circuit card that has memory and whatever on it and storage. Not memory, I'm sorry, it has storage on it. And it has like this pristine Windows install on it from factory. And if you get like caught by ransomware and you can't connect to the internet, but you got to blow this thing away and go back, this thing's in a secure enclave, you can get it back, and it's like it's built right into the client, you know.
That's cool.
You know, one thing that Windows 10 does do pretty well is like resetting a PC, even when you wipe the disk securely, honestly, you know, compared to losing like a day of work or whatever, you know, you can get back up and running in an hour, maybe two, with all the app installs and, you know, downloading documents and so forth. But it's a pretty quick process. And having everything be on the, it is already on the disk, obviously. But even if your computer is compromised, the ability to come back from that, I think, is very interesting. So it's interesting. It's weird to me, like, someone asked on Twitter, by the way, do the PC makers know about this new thing that's coming? Have they seen it? I mean, and I don't know that no one's ever talked to me about that, but they have to have, right? I mean,
they know.
They have to.
Yeah. They do.
So it's weird to me that we've already seen a lot of new PCs with some of these features that maybe would have made more sense for holding off, you know, to get people to upgrade. But I mean, I guess when you're in that business, I mean, you want people to buy now rather than potentially buy 9 months from now.
And maybe because of the chip shortage too, it's like, yeah, they're showing you stuff now, but you might not be able to get it for months, right?
Yeah, that's a good point too.
Yeah.
I don't know.
But back, because on Discord, people are asking about this. So do I think that Microsoft renamed Windows Virtual Desktop to Azure Virtual Desktop because of anything to do with Windows 11? No. That's totally unrelated. I asked them that. Actually, I said, so wait a minute, you guys are saying Windows is great, Windows is back, and now you're taking Windows out of the name of this thing. And the person I talked to said, well, this is built on Azure, right? Windows Virtual Desktop is an Azure service. When you buy it and you pay for it, you're consuming Azure resources, you're supplementing it with other Azure services. So even though you're running a Windows desktop on it, you can also run other apps on it too. It doesn't have to be you're running a Windows desktop. So we wanted the name to reflect all the different things that it can do. So I don't think it's related in any way to the name of the next Windows at all.
Yeah, I agree. Yep.
Yeah. Yep. Paul, you did a sarcastic tweet about this yesterday about something about
moi?
you.
Mr. Thoreau.
The reason I'm bringing it up is you said something about, maybe this has something to do with the name of Windows 11. And my boss immediately pings me and says, did you see Thoreau's tweet? Is he right? And I'm like, no, see the S at the end? He's just being a jerk.
Yeah. It's just being a jerk. I should have done /J.
You should have. But, so in this announcement, again, everybody was obsessed with the name change. But the biggest part of this announcement is not the name change from WVD to AVD. It is this new pricing model they added in here for ISVs and for IT, right? So they're going to now let you use Azure Virtual Desktop to stream apps. Remember there was a company that got nailed by Microsoft who was doing this back in the day? They're going to let you now do this legally, right? You can pay Microsoft a fee so that you can use their virtualization service to stream apps if you're a third-party company, if you want to do it that way.
Streaming individual apps, not a desktop environment.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, they've had a local version of this since the early 2000s. And I always, and when I think about things like Cloud PC, it's like, well, I'm running this, I'm running it from something, right? That it could be an iPad, it could be an old Windows computer, Chromebook, whatever. I mean, I'm really not looking for Windows here, right? What I'm looking for is that one app. Maybe it's a line of business app that my company requires, or whatever. some family lineage app that only ran on Windows 3.1 or whatever it is I need. Well, that's a bad example, but some legacy app. I think apps are way more important than Windows. Even though personally I prefer Windows, like I said, and I like the environment. I mean, what we're really talking about here is apps, right?
Right. Yep.
App compatibility.
And so if you say you're like, let's just pick a software company. Like, say you're ServiceNow. And you decide, you know what, the easiest way for us to get our app out there to our users is to, instead of us streaming it to them and maintaining all our own servers or putting it in the cloud ourselves, what if we could just put it on Azure Virtual Desktop and deliver it to users that way?
Right.
I'm not saying ServiceNow would do that, but a smaller ISV might say that would make sense, right? And so then you pay Microsoft, like whatever the fee is, $10 per user per month. And you pass that on to your customer and their price, right? And you live happily ever after, right?
Well, I mean, that could solve some problems. I mean, the world has changed the way it's changed. I mean, people might want to access your app from their phone, from their tablet, from their web browser, on some other platform, whatever. It's easier doing that than it is to recreate this app, for the web or using some cross-platform framework or whatever.
Yeah. But they also announced as part of this name change that they're going to be letting you secure your apps through Azure Active Directory. So even if your apps are in a VM on the service, you're going to be able to log in through Azure Active Directory. So that makes it even more secure to do this if you want to run virtually through Azure Virtual Desktop. Yeah, I thought this was a big announcement. Like, forget Windows 11. Like, this is a real thing here now today that people can use. Okay.
Forget Windows 11. That should be the title of this show. Forget Windows 11.
All right, it is. I make it
Everything is just we talked about it for 90 minutes straight.
But forget it. Just forget it.
Useless.
But all it is rounded corners. We came to that conclusion, right?
Yeah.
So,
I mean, Look, we can beat a dead horse forever, but you shouldn't.
We can.
Just move on with your
Exactly.
lives.
Let's just talk about Azure Virtual Desktop and the coming Cloud PC service. I think, so my guess, Cloud PC, probably July announcement around then.
So you sort of said this, but how do you differentiate Cloud PC from Azure Virtual Desktop by the pricing model? Yeah, that's it, basically.
Right. So it'll be like, hey, you want to pay a flat fee and not worry about paying for Azure compute and storage and networking.
Yeah, because
You
that can
pay
really
Microsoft.
add up.
That adds up a lot,
my God,
right?
yeah.
That's why it's an enterprise thing, right?
Yeah.
But Cloud PC could be a normal person thing, because if you could say to somebody, hey, you want to run everything in the cloud? What if you pay us $20 a month? Here you go, and we'll do everything. We'll secure it. We'll run it. We'll like clean it up. Blah blah blah. You get all your apps.
Just
right
not
here.
installing Windows updates 3 times a month would be worth.
Wouldn't that be
$20 a
worth
month.
it? It would. And I don't know if it's $20 a month. We've heard there are like 3 packages, 3 possible different price levels. That was the rumor at one point.
Do you? I mean, I know this is still. I guess you're speculating here, but or you will be when I ask this question. Will they be allowing you to do that virtual app thing where it's only the app, or is it literally a Windows environment?
So I'm not sure about that actually. Yep.
Okay. I still feel like that's the more preferable outcome.
Right.
For many people, or for most people.
Yeah. So I'm not exactly sure how that'll work, but I think that's still coming, and that's going to be super interesting. How they position and package that pricing.
Right.
Yep.
Do you think they will talk about this at all in 2 weeks at this event, or is this completely separate?
I wondered about that at one point, but I'm like, you know what? I think if they announce those 2 things side by side, I think they'd steal the thunder away from Windows 11, maybe.
Yeah. Well, or confuse people. Windows 11 is here, but we want you to run Windows apps from the cloud.
I know, right?
Like, wait, what?
No, and I feel like the Cloud PC thing might be more of a partner show thing, because they want to bring their reseller partners in to help them sell that, and so it could be like an Inspire announcement in middle of July. That would be kind of interesting timing for Cloud PC.
Okay.
Just guessing again.
Yeah,
this whole show
especially
is just guesses, but
is Inspire that's still a partner show? Is that the?
Yeah, it's a partner show. Yeah.
So that's gotten tricky with the move to Microsoft 365 and Azure, right? So
right.
Well, I guess their partners could get commissions for bringing people into this or whatever.
Right, or like, be the ones to help them add value on top of it.
Yeah, right. Okay, basically get like a service contract or something.
Yeah. Like we'll give you Cloud PC, and then we'll also like do all the setup for you, bring in your apps, and help you get the whole thing running, and add some value on top of that for you.
Okay, then actually that makes some sense.
It does, right?
Is that that's virtual this year again, right? Obviously, it's this summer.
Virtual.
So,
Yep.
Virtually inspiring.
Yes.
Yeah, it's almost inspiring.
Oh, close. Good news that Google, Apple, Mozilla, and Edge are all going to standardize on browser extensions. That means they'll all use the same format, so we can. Wow, that's really cool.
It's fascinating. And this is being done through the World Wide Web Consortium, W3C.
They set the standards for this stuff, so it makes sense.
And to be clear, Google. No, I'm sorry. To be clear, he says, screwing it up instantly. Apple and Mozilla have their own completely separate, unique ways of doing things. Google and Microsoft are both using Chromium. They're working to standardize browser extensions so that a browser extension will work on every browser.
Plus, they'll be secure, which is
exactly they want to have a new secure architecture. So we'll see how this evolves. They just announced they're doing it. I think the fact that they got the top 4 browser makers in from day one is huge. It's like the only thing that makes it make sense. One little caveat to this is there are no plans for a single link extension store that everyone will use. I guess this is kind of a product differentiator. So
that makes sense. That's fine.
Each company will.
You'll use the one that.
Apple would have been
your browser.
Yeah, we're not doing that. I'm sure part of Apple's deal was we have to control the store. I don't know if you know about Apple and stores.
I've heard about that.
Apparently, there's a whole big thing.
They broke Safari extensions badly, and a lot of extensions don't work. Or
interesting.
It's very limited. I hate the way they do extensions, but their argument is, but we're doing it securely. So it'll be interesting. And that was one of the things they announced on Tuesday is that they're going to bring more extensions. So
and the same extensions across all of their platforms, right? Wherever
that's
there's Safari, which I thought was actually really cool.
So so this is good.
Yep,
that's what everybody wants. Now, if they can all agree to do tabs or the same way.
Hey, while we're doing it, what everyone wants, how about bringing iMessage to Android, guys? Anything? Just bring it to the web.
Here's a thought.
Hey, am I the only one when they did
FaceTime on Windows?
FaceTime on the web, and everyone's like, "Here it comes." Here it comes. Nope, they're moving on.
Just FaceTime. just FaceTime. And what really, it's interesting because what they really did at this event is make it into a Zoom clone. FaceTime is now.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, if you can't really use it for meetings if anybody that's on Android or Windows can't use it. So you've got to give them something. It's apparently.
I mean, there's a downside to it.
Yeah,
to being a monoculture.
To being a monoculture.
I've never heard of such a thing.
But they really added a lot of Zoom-like features to FaceTime. I thought that was really interesting.
But that was all innovation, Leo. I don't know what you mean copying. Or whatever that was.
90% of what they announced yesterday was catching up or parity with Android.
You like the Microsoft / Google Lens feature they added
exactly.
I know.
Yeah, Office Lens is already Yeah. But that's okay.
I know.
No, as much as people like saying, "See, you didn't invent that." Well, it's good for users. If something is cool and well and works well on another platform, let's add it.
Yes, exactly.
No, but what about the thing they showed that was like when Microsoft showed them taking pictures of the sandcastle? Remember that?
Yeah, with the Windows Phone.
Yeah.
That app never came out.
Right.
What
was that though, that Apple showed?
So there you can make a 3D model of pretty much anything now.
Yeah, Microsoft showed that exact
Oh,
thing.
like 6 or 7
Yeah,
years.
remember it was the Creators
Update.
Creators
right?
Update, yeah.
Yeah, this was the 3D paint
everywhere.
thing on Windows.
Everywhere.
Yeah.
And
So we were going to have
problem
3D
is
paint.
They got rid of all of that.
Yeah.
Yep.
But Apple's secret motive for all this is they really want to do AR glasses. So they're just trying to get everybody to.
Yeah.
Alex Lindsay said Amazon has entire warehouses in China where they're just 3D modeling everything they sell. And that makes senes, because you can, Apple showed Wayfair doing it.
Meanwhile,
IKEA does it.
I've never understood. Microsoft believed for some time that AR/MR was the next platform, like that. It's the next big thing, and they've come down from that. In fact, I think as recently as Build this past month, they talked about that. How we thought this was going to.
It's funny because they were ahead of everybody in this one.
Yeah, but I think they saw, and as is so often the case, this stuff makes more sense on mobile than it does on a PC, and Microsoft doesn't have mobile, so unfortunately. But that said, Google is kind of walking back from AR a little bit.
Yeah.
They got rid of their
cardboard
virtual reality stuff. They got, the Dream, and they killed
or whatever it was. Yeah,
the Dream. What was that called? Dream something. You're right.
They killed the dream.
They killed the
It's
dream.
literally. I got it in the box.
I got one right here. It's fabric covered. It's soft. It's nice.
I know.
Doesn't work with anything.
I had the cardboard. I thought that was fun.
It was cool.
Yeah.
Cardboard one was great.
Google did glass. Microsoft's got HoloLens. But
They
it's
got
going
rid
to be
of that Measure app is gone.
Measure. They
AR
killed Measure. Why'd they kill Measure? That's so crazy.
Like yesterday.
Why kill it?
I
don't understand. You could just leave it. You don't have to.
You've never met Google, I guess.
I guess so. Yeah, they don't leave anything.
Nope.
All right, quick break. Then we're going to talk about Snapdragon in your next laptop.
I got your Snapdragon in my PC.
I got you. Microsoft 365 and Xbox. There's lots more to come on Windows Weekly. Stay right here. This podcast is supported by AT&T Active Armor. Right now, our lives are on our phones, and with our phones full of live-streamed exercise classes, midday work calls, and nightly family video calls, there is no room for fraud calls. Thankfully, AT&T makes customer security a priority, helping block those pesky calls. It's not complicated. AT&T Active Armor, 24/7 proactive network security and fraud call blocking to help stop threats at no extra charge. Compatible device and service required. Visit att.com/activearmor for details. Let's move on. I don't know. With the Samsung Galaxy Book Go, a new.
There is something.
Huh? Sorry.
Yes. So last week and the week before, I think, we were talking about
Yes.
this Snapdragon Developer Kit.
Yes.
And Mary Jo had heard that it was possibly $300 or $350, I don't remember.
I don't know where I
hope
that.
it is. That seems low to me. But then again, since then, Samsung announced a new line of Galaxy Book Pro laptops running Windows 10 on ARM. And the starting price of the lower end version, which is running that same Snapdragon 7C Gen 2 chipset that we saw from the dev kit, it's only going to cost $350.
What?
And this is like a 14-inch full HD display,
Wow.
LTE, Wi-Fi 5,
What?
Bluetooth 5.1, 4 gigs of RAM, 64 gigs of storage. It's eUFS storage, right? So it's
Not
not
super
as bad
fast.
as eMMC. That's good.
Right.
And then you can get an upgraded configuration with 8 gigs of RAM and 128 gigs of storage. I mean, that's a good price. I don't know that I've ever been able to present like a Windows 10 on ARM story in a positive fashion, but this is like, yeah, there
Is
you
it
go.
for
Now-
developers? Like, who's the audience for this?
No,
this is
it's
for people.
students.
This is for
It
people.
is for students.
Kids.
It is
Yeah.
for normal people.
I know. There's
Non-geeky.
going to be a more expensive version. They haven't discussed the price that will
Yeah,
have the
okay.
the better chipset. You know, the 8.
I can't tell you how often I get calls from people saying, "Oh yeah, I got to buy a new Windows laptop," or "My kid's going to college, needs a Windows laptop," and I'll say, "Oh great, what's your budget? $300
Jeez.
every
Well,
time."
Wow.
And I don't want to say, "You idiot, you can't get anything good for $300." But so
Yeah.
I have to be respectful
what
because
they
I understand
have,
money's tight, but
course.
that you can't get anything good for $300.
So people have been speculating, especially since Microsoft, killed Windows 10X or whatever. Well, what's their Chromebook play then? I mean, it might be this kind of computer. This computer, by the way, I should say, there are $350 Windows computers out in the world. They are horrible.
Yeah.
Like you don't want anything to do with them.
HP makes
This-
those horrible
Yeah, for
ones.
schools, especially education, they're terrible. 11-inch screens, gross. This thing looks nice. Like this I'm not saying it's not plastic, and I don't.
You're
I don't
going to
know
get
this,
one
man.
because you're going to. I need you to tell me.
I am
if it's
absolutely.
usable.
I'm definitely
Yeah.
getting one. I'm definitely getting.
Because if it
one.
is,
This
I'll
looks
finally
nice.
have something I can say. Well, $350.
There you go. Now, remember it's but I would upgrade it personally. I think especially as you move to 64-bit app emulation and you want to future-proof it a little bit. I think 8 gigs of RAM might be better, but assuming the day-to-day performance just with the UI and everything is fine. I mean, this is a Chromebook.
It's basically a
computer right
Chromebook. Yeah. And the question is, will Windows 10 run
Yep.
reasonably on it?
here. And no one knows. No one has such a chipset in a computer today, so I don't know. But it's interesting.
It's really interesting. Yeah.
Yeah.
Microsoft 365 time. Golly.
Yeah.
Golly.
A lot of stuff here. So I guess thanks for letting me do this one. I couldn't care less about this. So
Let's go to Paul Thurrott, our
I don't mind
correspondent.
chiming in
it's
on
like,
it. I don't
hey,
mind chiming in on it.
if you weren't getting enough Cortana on your phone, I got some news for you. So Microsoft has enhanced the voice capabilities in Outlook Mobile and iOS. It is coming soon to Android. I think there are three new features. It's basically just the ability to talk to the app. And there already are things like this that use Cortana-type voice recognition and interaction technology to help you talk and interact. These are, I guess they're not all. The first one is related specifically to calendar. I don't have I haven't got the update yet, so I don't. The description I had was actually kind of messed up in the blog post, so I know exactly how it's going to work. But when you're in the calendar view, there will be a microphone icon somewhere, and you'll be able to use that to tell Cortana things like, when's my next meeting or schedule a meeting, that kind of thing. So it's just an extension of some of the other voice capabilities. Natural language search, this is going to work across Outlook, email, and calendar, and then voice dictation, which will work the way it works today in Word and Outlook on the desktop. And the idea there is that you're writing an email message. You're dictating an email message basically with your voice or a response to an existing email message. So, fine, sure.
I know. You know what makes this hard to write about and hard to explain is that they still use Cortana as the explanation for a voice feature, right?
Yeah. So, right. So
Cortana
people
lives somewhere.
Well, does it though? Cortana might be
I know.
homeless. I think the way to think of this is there's an AI backend, right? Microsoft Graph and all that stuff. Cortana is kind of an interaction layer that sits between that and you. And it's translating what you're saying into commands that hit this backend data store or whatever. It is exactly what it should be, right? That is what the Amazon Assistant is when you use one of those tube speakers. You say something to it, it understands you, hopefully, and it does the right thing, hopefully. And as these things advance, you have conversations, you go back and forth. It might ask you clarifying comments. But really, it's just that glue interaction layer. It's the thing in the middle. Yeah. It's middleware.
Yep. It is. It's middleware. It is. Yeah. And they've been talking about this idea of conversational AI and being able to talk to Cortana in like the turn by turn way and stuff for years, right? Remember when they showed that at Build, like 2019, 2018, somewhere around there, where they said, and this is coming soon, like this is going to be happening very soon. And here we are, 2021, it's starting to happen. So, yay.
I will say, for whatever it's worth, I don't think people care what it's called, other than that they need to know the name.
No,
but the
I think
notion
it just
of a
makes
standalone,
it confusing a little bit.
Actually, when you think about it, it makes more sense than having a standalone Cortana app. That's a weird situation where you're like, I want to talk to my phone, so I need to run this app, and then I can talk to it and it will do stuff. Whereas normally you're like, I want to schedule a meeting or I want to reply to an email, but I'm, driving a car is a terrible example.
No, I agree.
Right? I mean, it appears where you need it. I think Cortana is a feature, not a product. I guess.
That's a great way of saying it, actually. Yep. And that plays right into the next thing, which is the scheduler service that Microsoft announced this week, also related to Cortana. So if you remember a product that Microsoft talked about like 4 years ago called calendar.help, this is what this is. They renamed it to Scheduler. So the funniest thing was the way I found out about this product was somebody from Microsoft one time was trying to set up a meeting with me, and they sent me this thing, and it looked like Cortana was trying to set up a meeting time, and I'm like, what is this? And so it said, when are you available? And I put some times in, and then it came back and said, okay, I arranged your calendar, and you and this person are meeting at this time. And I'm like, I don't even know what this thing is, but it's amazing, right? And so now they're starting to roll this out. And on the back end, they have a lot of technology that's like finding the meeting time, sending out the invitation. If you cancel the meeting, it cancels it. It does all this like magic on the back end. And the front end is Cortana so that you can talk to it using natural language queries. Like you could say like, Cortana, could you set up a time for me and Sriracha to have some catnip together tomorrow around 3? And magic happens and the invites go out and boom. The weird little side thing about this service, well, there's two things. One is it's very expensive. I think a lot of people thought this was going to be free. If you're a Microsoft 365 business customer, this is going to cost you $10 per user per month. And yes, there are volume discounts available, but that's expensive for a scheduling service.
There are some Microsoft 365 SKUs that don't cost $10 per month.
I know, right?
It is expensive.
I get the whole office for $7.95.
I know, right? Wow. So it's got to be for people who feel like they waste a lot of time trying to find meeting times with other people to make it
I do think this is going to benefit the biggest companies the most.
Me too.
And,
Same.
And by the way, you said calendar.help. I'd forgotten about that. I looked it up. I signed up for calendar.help back in 2017.
Yep.
And it had a code name that began with the letter J, I think, but I couldn't figure that out.
No, but wait a minute. I got to tell you about the other creepy part about Scheduler, or a little creepy maybe. So if Cortana and the back end cannot work together to find a meeting time for you and your other group of people, a human gets involved, like an actual person who is reading the emails and figuring this out. So Microsoft has
that's
all
why
this
it's $10.
Stuff. So they have all this stuff about privacy guarantees and we adhere to the privacy statements and blah, blah, blah.
Because this is a crowded category.
It is, right?
There's Doodle. We've used Meeting Bird, Calendarly. Right? Yeah, this is a very, very crowded calendar.
Microsoft, doesn't they have a free service for this, for finding meeting times? I
they do. They do.
So that's the difference, is this human. I think that's why it's expensive.
Well, and it's more automated natural language, right? But the thing, find time in Outlook, that is free in Outlook, and that will continue to exist. So if that works for you, keep using Find Time because it's free.
Yeah. But you might need more. Sometimes
you might need more.
You know, everybody's busy and, you know.
Find time.
Find time.
Find time.
Find time.
Yep. Yep.
Is it $10 per seat?
$10 per user per month. Yeah.
Golly, that's expensive. But I guess
It's
Sign
very
right up on the web, though, so it's super easy.
they'll take your $10 with you won't even notice.
Oh, yeah.
It's expensive.
Be gone right away.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, I think it's for the CEO and the executives and stuff. If you're the executive assistant, $10 a month is nothing.
Yeah.
Bob, listen, you're going to be talking to a robot. It's going to be awesome.
I am calling.
I'll tell you,
We're in.
It worked pretty good.
On behalf.
It worked very well when I had a chance to try it
Mr.
out.
Gates would like to know when you have some free time. Press 1.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Vizio, you know what? Vizio, it's funny. I loved Vizio back in the day.
Yep.
It was a Microsoft acquisition, right? It wasn't, they didn't write it themselves. I think they bought it.
It was an acquisition.
Yeah.
But I'm thrilled that it's still around. Mm-hmm. And now it's free.
I know. So many people were happy about this. So there's a very basic, lightweight version of Vizio on the web that Microsoft's going to add to Microsoft 365 business plans for no extra cost. And they say right out, like it's very basic. It's for creating, editing, and sharing diagrams. But if you want all the bells and whistles that you get with Vizio, and you're somebody who cares about all those shapes and like doing crazy things with them, or charts, blah, 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 you're probably going to want the paid version, Vizio Plan 1 or Vizio Plan 2.
But still, it's nice that the simple
July,
version is free. That's great. I love that.
I know. Starting in July through Office Online, which is office.com, you'll be able to just start using the lightweight Vizio if you have Microsoft 365, all the usual plans, the standard, the E3, E5, E1 even, A3, A5. So yeah, pretty cool.
Nice.
Fun little announcement.
And early access is open now if you want to try it out.
Yep.
Also,
yes,
OneDrive comes to my favorite platform, the M1.
So, when Apple shipped the first M1-based Macs late last year, I bought a Mac Mini. But mostly fantastic experience, I would say, within the confines of it being a Mac. But one of the problems I had was with OneDrive, and it was just like the type of thing where you'd go up to click it, and you'd beach ball it, and it just wouldn't respond. It was terrible. And then early this year, Intel lent me a MacBook Pro, M1-based MacBook Pro, and I had the same problem.
Let me get that straight. Intel lent you an M1 MacBook Pro.
Yeah, it was an ill-advised attempt to convince me that...
See, they're not all that good. That's really bizarre.
Yeah. Well, anyway, I reviewed it, and it's okay, But I had the same the OneDrive problem. Microsoft came back to me and said, "Hey, would you mind sharing the application logs?" And they explained how to get into it. And so I did, and I never heard back. But they're going to fix this problem, I guess. Actually, they might have already fixed it. So there was a recent update to OneDrive in the Mac that has reduced CPU usage by 40%. I wonder if that would fix it. I don't know. I'm not going to try now, but they are releasing an M1 native version of the OneDrive client on Mac by the end of the year, probably late in the year. Look, there is no version of a story where some company ports a product to M1 and doesn't experience massive performance gains. So I have to assume that will be the case with OneDrive. So that'll be nice. I wish that could happen sooner rather than later.
Right.
They also announced, I'm not going to list all these things because seriously, it's kind of crazy. But if there is a OneDrive feature out in the world that isn't on the Mac, it's coming to the Mac. Like known folder move, which is that the client is called file backup, the ability to sync your desktop documents and picture folders to OneDrive is coming to the Mac. OneDrive sync admin reports if you're a commercial customer. Blah, blah, blah. What else is in here? I don't know. The ability to edit Word and PowerPoint documents directly in the app when you're offline is coming. There's all kinds of stuff. So OneDrive's going to get a lot better on the Mac this year, apparently. So good.
Yeah. If you're already using Office, you got all that storage. It's probably nice.
Yeah.
have that.
Yeah, I would rely on it. I mean, I do rely on it on Windows. If I was using a Mac, I would rely on it, and I wish they'd port it to Linux, but I don't really see that happening, I guess.
Yeah, that's kind of a showstopper for me. But
yeah.
Every time for some reason, when I start my Mac, it says, "You want to sign into OneDrive?" And I always say,
"Hey, like you have no idea how much I want to sign into OneDrive."
I just can't wait. I'm dying to sign into OneDrive.
Oh my God, do I want to sign into OneDrive?
Thank you. I thought no one would ever ask.
Can I sign into other things? Can I get Teams?
Is there Teams for Mac? There must be, right?
There is, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, actually, there's a Teams for Linux, by the way.
Oh, well.
I know.
Now you're talking.
Mm-hmm.
Xbox time in the USA.
Yeah. So we're primed for an Xbox event that's coming up. So there hasn't been a lot this past week, but one of the things I've been meaning to do for a long time is go back and revisit the new consoles. I've been using the Xbox Series X since before it came out, actually, but let's say since last November. And the problem with this platform is it's like full of promise, but there isn't anything to really take advantage of the promise yet. So the story, and it's true, is that you could play existing games and they'll be better in some way. It could be very subtle. It could be, pretty obvious when you run those things on the new platform. But to me, the biggest thing is just the overall performance speed. Like they literally dedicate a processor core just to the UI. You can really tell the difference. And the ability to just quick resume games, especially, but even like booting the system from a dead stop, booting a game from a dead stop, and then of course quick resume when you've already run the game before, it makes that whole thing makes the experience so much better. But to be sure that this was the case, I went back and grabbed my Xbox One X, which 9-10 months ago was the best Xbox in the world, and I started playing games on that for a few days. And man, some of the differences are subtle, but the slowdowns on this thing are crazy, and the fan noise on this is epic. And that's one thing you don't think about it because you don't hear it. The Xbox Series X is silent. Now, if you went up and put your ear up to it, you could probably hear a fan in there, but you don't hear the thing. When you put on a Xbox One X, it's like a jet turbine. Like game starts up, you're hearing a fan. Like the fan's going to run all day. It's just the way it is. So that's kind of a big difference. I think what this points to is that if you weren't able to get one of these new consoles, you're okay, right? Maybe Halo will be the first game that really takes advantage of the next hardware, Flight Simulator, something like that. But as of today, I don't. As far as the graphic quality of existing games, I mean, for the most part, it's like it's close.
You're making me feel better, Paul. I gave up trying to get one. Is it still in short supply?
Yeah, and it probably will be for a long time.
Yeah.
Here's the interesting news, though. Since writing this, I swapped out the Xbox One X for the Xbox Series S, which is the lower end console. This thing is completely silent. It's optimized for 1440p, not for 4K for the most part. But for the games I play, which are a couple of years old, really, they call it old Call of Duties or whatever, it's as good as the Xbox Series X, and it's better because it's cheaper and it's smaller, and it's a neat little console. Like it's now that may change over time. I mean, obviously, as games are optimized for the new platforms, you're going to see stuff happening on Xbox Series X that isn't possible elsewhere. But as of today, I don't know. I mean, the new consoles are better. There's no doubt about it. But I don't think there's enough software to justify the worry that you can't get one. It's not. I mean, I'm not going back to it. Don't get me wrong. It's fine for you. No, I mean, it would be, it's fine. It really is fine. Like, honestly, if I'd never experienced Xbox Series X, I don't know what I would have thought. I mean, I would just keep playing, whatever. That's the Xbox experience. I mean, definitely the silence and the quickness of the UI and everything is great. But the real proof of this is going to be a year or two from now when we have like awesome games that you can't play on other Xboxes, right? Or don't look as good or whatever. So it hasn't happened yet. So that's the reality. Yeah.
I'm thinking I have my little kitty to buy a Series X, and I realize I can still buy a Sega Dreamcast for only $169. So maybe I'll just
going to say a Surface Duo. Just buy a Duo.
Just get a Duo. They're half.
I mean, eventually they'll pay you to get one. So
it's down to like $500 somewhere.
500, really? Wow.
It was something. No,
last week you said 700.
Like
it might even be less than that. It started at what, 13?
15.
Yeah.
15,
I think. Yeah.
It's a lot of bucks.
Wow.
Yeah.
Sent mine back. I liked it so much, but it just didn't happen.
It wasn't ready yet.
It needed
Not
a camera
ready.
on the back. It needed needed a bunch
Not
of stuff.
ready.
Yeah. But maybe. I mean, I hope they don't. I hope they like make it better.
They're going to do another one.
They're
Yeah,
very
will.
clearly going to release another one. So
Yeah.
All right, I think
Whether
we
the
are
world needs it or
preparing
not.
our warm your jets, folks, because the back of the book is coming up next. Sega. Da, 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 da.
love the Dreamcast.
Da, 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 da,
Those
da,
little
da,
Tamagotchi things you'd plug into the top
da,
of the
da.
controller.
Yeah. What was that? I forgot about that.
No,
The
it was a
visual
data
memory
card
unit.
or something. Yeah. There you go.
Da, 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 da. Da, 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 da. My son
played
was so mad at me that I
Quake
gave
3
away the
on a
Dreamcast because we were done with it. And he said,
You could do keyboard and mouse.
Could you really on the Dream? Well, it was Windows. It was Windows CE, wasn't
Well,
it?
it was there, but the games you played were none of them.
Oh yeah, you never saw Windows.
No, it wasn't. Those weren't that. No, that was a different environment. Like that was the reason Microsoft made Xbox in part was because the Windows CE thing on Sega never went anywhere.
Right. But it was a Windows operating system on Sega. On the Genesis. No, on the Dreamcast.
I think it.
I remember it was Windows. Yeah.
It was on there, but I don't think it was the primary OS.
Oh.
I think it was like an alternate.
Oh, it wasn't the base operating system?
I don't think so. Yeah, I don't know.
Oh. It had the worst controllers.
Yeah. Well, did you see the original Xbox controller? Really similar.
Yeah.
Really similar.
Yeah.
Shape and size.
Okay. Let's get your tip of the week, Mr. PT.
Yeah. So I guess this could have been in what's happening there.
Blame the thunder,
I'm
lightning.
getting an error 1020 on my website.
Very, very frightening.
It's
What?
1020.
1020 on your website?
It wasn't a Lumia story. So starting June 11th, which is Friday, and then running for the following week, there is a summer sale happening at Xbox. It's going to be available at Xbox.com, Microsoft Store, and even at participating retailers. And depending on what you're buying, this is worth looking at. So 500 digital games are going to be up to 55% off. Select Xbox Game Studios games, that's a lot of games now all of a sudden, up to 75% off. 60% off on select PC digital games. They'll have the standard. Well, actually, this isn't standard. Xbox Game Pass Ultimate, usually get $1 for 1 month when you first sign up. This is $1 for 3 months. 25% off select gaming accessories. And then select gaming PCs will be on sale as well, starting at $699. So this is going to be, like I said, starting Friday. You might want to head over to Xbox.com and just look through this. If you held off on buying, whatever games, this might be the opportunity. Yeah,
I was so ready to unload $35 a month. And the Series X and the Game Pass.
Oh yeah, remember that?
Yeah,
Right.
remember that?
And I was too.
So ready.
Yep.
So ready, Chris.
If only
I
they
bet you
just
will
made
have
it-
Chris Capicella on again this Christmas. And we'll be saying, when will we be able to get the Series X, Chris?
2024.
When will that be coming out? So I am actually very interested in your app pick of the week because I've been seeing this everywhere and I want to try it and I want to know what you think. Vivaldi 4.
So before getting into the details of the new version of Vivaldi, I just want to say sort of a general statement about browsers. I think about web browsers a lot. I experiment with web browsers a lot. I like where Brave is heading in particular. Where Vivaldi lands is it's a Chromium-based web browser, cross-platform. It is so far been focused mostly, I would say, on personalization. And it is crazy how much you can personalize in this browser. Like it's
too much. I downloaded it.
It is.
It's like,
right.
I have to do all this to start using it.
Well, no, and for me, like we just talked about. I think we talked about this earlier. This notion that the browser needs to get out of the way and it should be minimalist. And Safari's doing a pretty good job with that now. So
this is the opposite.
Yeah, it is literally the opposite. But one of the things they did in version 4.0 is they had, let me just find it. I want to find the right language for this. Well, let's see. Why can't I find this? Layouts. I'm sorry. So they call them default layouts. So one of the first screens you see when you install the browser is it's a new screen to choosing the layouts.
Yeah, that's where I gave
the
up.
middle. Yeah, well, okay. So in the old days, before this version, the middle, which they now call classic, is this loaded UI, right?
Yeah.
What they're doing now is they have an Essentials, which is like a cutback UI. It provides like the do not track stuff, the add and tracker blockers, the new translation feature, which is new to 4.0, which I'll mention in a second. Classic adds the panels, which is the stuff where it starts to get busy for me, and the status bar, and then something called fast forward and rewind. And then they have a fully loaded thing, which is hilarious. So it's kind of like the double stack, I guess. And this adds the new built-in applications for mail, calendar, and feeds, right? Now, I'm really interested in that stuff. So they're pushing
it all,
with this,
basically.
Yeah. So they're pushing a couple of things here. One is, this is a browser that can do everything. It's super personalizable.
Personalizable.
That's a weird word. But now they're pushing also the privacy stuff, which, let's face it, everyone's pushing privacy now, right? So the interesting thing about all the new features, and those new features include, again, that translation thing I briefly mentioned, and the mail calendar and feeds apps, is that these things are all built in a privacy-friendly fashion. So they're all kind of separated from the internet. They're, they're isolated, standalone things. They don't go up to the cloud in most cases unless you want them to, and that depends on the feature. And it's basically, they literally have this quote that says, "We're keeping translations out of the reach of companies like Google or Microsoft." Like, your translation activity is for your eyes only. Obviously, when you browse on the web, you hit like a website that's in a different language. Auto translation is awesome. You don't need extensions anymore. Most browsers now have something built in for that. It's kind of a core feature, but when you use that with Microsoft or Google, obviously you're sharing data with the cloud, and this is one of those like on-device type features. I'm interested in, if you apply that sort of thinking like to mail calendar and RSS/Atom feeds, interesting. This is interesting too. The problem for me is, to get those apps, you have to enable the sidebar, and it's built into the browser. They aren't standalone apps. So it's like the browser's just getting bigger. And I guess realistically, I use Edge today, and I have some pinned tabs, and two of the things I pin are my mail and my calendar. So what's the difference? And that's a good question. So I'm experimenting with this right now. I'm very interested in this. I think Chromium compatibility is key, just for it working with the web. I've been a little put off by how busy the UI is in the past with Vivaldi. But the thing what I want with this thing is the essential layout, but then I want those like mail and calendar and feed to be separate apps. And they're not. They're built into the browser. So it's still interesting, but it's, I don't know. When you think about web browsers, I mean, Vivaldi is somewhere between Opera and Tor or something. I don't know.
It's a lot like Opera, because, of course, it's
it is
founded by the former CEO of Opera, Jan van Tekner. So it's Opera. I mean, it's basically become Opera.
Yeah.
With the Google engine. Opera had its own engine. So.
Yeah, although Opera has since switched to Chromium too, as you know, but again, I think the big thing with Vivaldi, if you go back and look at their earliest stuff, their whole deal was, this is the browser the way you want it, and they really pushed personalization. Right. And that's a big thing, it's. I'm sure they have a rounded rectangles mode. And
in theory, it's really fast because it's the Google engine. You could use Edge and get the same benefits. So I don't know.
Well, every browser has whatever differentiators. Right. I mean, some of those are more meaningful than others. I don't know. But
so I wanted to mention before we move on to Mary Jo Foley's part of this segment that we are going to cover that Microsoft gaming event this Sunday, even though it's 10 a.m. Sunday in Pacific time is a weird time to do an event. I guess it's when E3 is, right? So it would have been their E3 thing. E3 starts this weekend.
So it's a virtual thing, right?
Yeah. So we are going to do it, but we're going to do it a little different because it's I have to do the radio show at 11, so we will only be able to do I'll be there for the first hour, but we're going to open it up in the Discord. So if you're a member of Club Twit, we'll have in the Discord, we'll have a live feed. First 25 people get in there will be on video. We'll show the stream, and then we can it's like everybody who's in there can talk about it. So it's going to be I think it's going to be interesting. It'll be kind of an open commentary for everybody, because I know there are a lot of gamers and who are very interested in this. It's going to be very interesting. I'm curious what they're going to have to say. So join us if you are in Club Twit. You can just join us in the Discord around 10 a.m. Pacific on Sunday and pop into the video and you'll be there. If you can't be there a Sunday morning, we will also put it out on the Twit Plus feed so you can watch after the fact. And it's just a test. We'll see how it works out. If you're not a member of Club Twit or you want to know what it is, it's $7 a month. Ad-free versions of this show and all of our shows. You also get access to our private Discord server, which is a lot of fun. There's about 3,000 people in there now, and it's just great. You also get the Twit Plus feed, which is stuff that didn't make it to the podcast like this. Find out more at twit.tv/clubtwit. It's open to everyone worldwide, and it's been a lot of fun. It's been really great. Mary Jo Foley is in there, by the way. She's in the Discord responding to people. Thank you. We didn't do our Discord Q&A today, but I think we're running long enough after we debated the fate of Windows 11 that
exactly.
I have a few more points I'd like to make about Windows.
No. It's time for Mary Jo.
It'll just take a few seconds.
No, and her enterprise pick of the week, Mary Jo.
It's been a while since we've had a good all-out war between Microsoft and other cloud vendors aired out publicly, like showing their dirty laundry in public. But we're having one right now, and it's involving SAP, who is one of Microsoft's biggest and tightest partners, and everybody else. So I think it was 2 weeks ago, I saw an article somewhere that said Microsoft and SAP were kind of partially dissolving their pact, and they're connected in many different ways with marketing pacts and sales pacts. And, SAP says Microsoft's their preferred cloud for a lot of different reasons and a lot of different workloads. But this article said that SAP was quietly starting to sell Google Cloud to customers and not Azure. So I was like, I wonder. And then Microsoft, of course, denying it and saying the person from SAP who said this didn't know what they were talking about. And then another article came out saying SAP is now going with customer choice and not telling them they should use Azure as their preferred cloud. Instead, they should just let customers, pick what they want, and they'll just build on top of any cloud, any of the big public clouds. So again, I was like, I don't know, is this really happening, or is this just wishful thinking? Well, today, I think Microsoft kind of confirmed it. Microsoft put out a blog post entitled, "Why Customers, Including SAP, Choose Azure for Their SAP Solutions." And it's a whole, this is awesome. It's like Microsoft defending like, hey, SAP loves us. They love us so much their own IT department uses Azure. Here's a list of all our giant customers that use Azure. There's a pie chart. SAP customers broadly favor Microsoft Azure, with Azure being 47% of the pie and Google Cloud 21% and AWS only 18%. But yeah, it's funny to see this all kind of coming to a head now, because a lot of people are asking me, like, what is going on with Microsoft and SAP? I mean, I don't know how many of you are old enough to remember this, but Microsoft actually tried to buy SAP back around 2004 or so. And so ever since then, they've kind of swapped executives and done a lot of joint partnerships, joint sales, joint this, joint that. And so it feels like ever since Julia White went over there, like there's been a little unraveling. And I'm not blaming Julia White at all, but kind of an interesting.
Why do you blame Julia White?
Why am I hating on Julia White? I'm not actually. I love Julia White. I was sad when she went to SAP. But yeah, it's a little interesting to see this, because, all of the cloud vendors, they love to claim, so-and-so says we're their preferred cloud, which is kind of a meaningless thing anyway. It just means, we're not their exclusive cloud. We're just one of the clouds that they might happen to recommend a little more than the other clouds. But yeah, I love these battles. They're always fun, and it's fun to watch the back and forth and tit for tat. And we'll see who fires the next salvo. Maybe Google will put out something like, "Why SAP loves the Google Cloud."
That's hysterical. Most companies now are multi-homed, right?
They are. Yeah. Everybody's multi-cloud now, right? So it's funny when anybody claims like, "Oh, everybody's all in on blah." Right?
They only use us. Yes.
Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly.
Fools.
Yes. Yes. What is SAP's business?
They are a big ERP, CRM. They're enterprise giant enterprise.
Like Salesforce. They're a Salesforce competitor.
But even more
bigger.
like Oracle. I would say, than Salesforce.
Got it.
Yeah.
Got it. And finally, not finally, second to finally, penultimately, the codename pick of the week. Yes.
Okay, so I did a couple weeks ago Cherry Hill as the codename pick of the week, which I said at the time I thought it was something around like the user experience for Sun Valley. And now today we have another one to add to this weird mix of mishmash of codenames, right? So Zach Bowden over at Windows Central said in response to the Walking Cat on Twitter who was asking about some codenames, he said, well, there's also this codename called Fire Steel. And Fire Steel is supposed to be the Microsoft tool for building Cherry Hill experience packages for Sun Valley. Very convoluted, right? And then Brad Sams, our friend in the bunny suit, chimed in and said, yeah, in fact, there's like going to be a Cherry Hill store and a Cherry Hill this and a Cherry Hill that. And I'm like, oh, so Cherry Hill is definitely like the UX piece of Sun Valley. And then I don't know who said this next, but they said, yeah, and everything is red, I guess, because of Cherry Hill. But I'm like, what does that mean? Red in design or what? I don't know. There are all these crazy code names floating around. And, because it's Panos, there's probably multiple code names for different things to try to catch the leakers. But yeah, the newest one I hadn't heard till today was Fire Steel, which is the tool used internally.
I don't think I would leak that name if I were you. That sounds dangerous.
Because it does. It sounds like you're getting a little close to the source, right?
You are the fire and I am the steel. Fire Steel. Wow.
Yeah. What song is that?
Yeah.
You are the fire. Is that a Fleetwood Mac song? Who was that?
I don't know. I know. It's in my head, but I don't remember who sang it. Chat room, please. A little help here.
I know.
A little help.
Who is that? That's a good question.
Who sang "We You Are the Fire"? Is it Bonnie Tyler? Is it no? Is it? I think it's called Fire and Steel. I think it's Chris Rea. I don't know.
I know this.
Who's that?
Yeah, it's obscure.
Sorry, I didn't mean to sidetrack this.
No,
I was like,
I sang
all of a sudden, we're all Googling
as soon as you
it,
said
right?
that, I was like, I know the song, but I can't.
Beer time, the pick of the week.
Yeah. So before the show started today, some people in the Discord were saying the most disappointing thing about Windows Weekly is the beer picks because
what?
Because I love the sound of all the beer picks and I can't get them.
Oh yeah, that is disappointing. It's frustrating, not disappointing.
It is. No, not disappointing.
Frustrating.
That's the wrong word.
Yeah.
So as I said on Discord, I'm trying to pick beers that are a certain style. So even if you can't get the exact beer I'm telling you, you can at least look for the style of beer. And today is a good example of that. Today's beer pick is Transmitter, which is a New York City brewery, T1 Triple. So it's a Belgian triple. A lot of different breweries in the U.S. and other countries make Belgian triples.
Walter Egan. Magnet and Steel.
Walter
Egan. Walter Egan. With Stevie Nicks. So you had the Fleetwood Mac
connection.
connection.
You were right.
Okay.
Fleetwood Mac.
Magnet and Steel.
It's just Fleetwood Mac. It sounds like.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah. Okay. That's all right. Back to beer.
Back to beer.
Back to the beer.
Back to beer.
Belgian triples are awesome. Triple the malt, triple the hops. 9.1% on this one I'm recommending from Transmitter.
Wow.
They're usually very fruity, right? Like they taste like stone fruit or citrus fruit. You can really taste the yeast, which is typically very distinctive because it's Belgian yeast. We drank a lot of these when we were in Europe, and Paul was still drinking beer. I remember drinking many triples.
I love triples. They're among my
awesome,
favorite beers.
Right?
Yeah.
I know. It's in the summer, a lot of people shy away from bigger beers, but sometimes it's nice to mix up all these pilsners and lagers
They're
with
just
something
delicious,
really
I feel like.
big and delicious, right? It's like your dessert. It's a triple. So yeah, any triple that you can find, any Belgian triple especially, I would recommend. It doesn't have to be Transmitter. But if you're in New York and you want to try one that's locally made very well, Transmitter makes excellent saisons and all kinds of those styles of beer.
What was the triple I had that you had recommended? Came in a white bottle. Oh, so good. We're lucky because Petaluma Market, our local grocery, has so many great beers. Somebody there must be, they must be serious about buying beer.
Yeah.
but it's really good.
Yeah.
I would like to try this T1. Sounds good.
Very good.
Yeah, I
Very
love the
good.
label too.
I know. So the two guys who own this brewery are both in the advertising agency
that
as their
explains
main
it.
jobs,
Yeah.
and their labels are super cool.
Oh, it's great. It looks like an old-timey prescription drug label.
Yep.
It says always well received, Transmitter Brewing. It's so great.
Yep.
So, and they even show you on the label what glass you should use, which is
Yes.
You should make a Terminator T2.
They have a T2, I believe.
Oh, there you go. Oh, yeah, look at that. An American triple.
Yeah. This is looking good.
Yeah.
All right. So you think this one's more widely available, or no? You have to be in New York.
This beer in particular probably is not, although they're distributing more. But any Belgian triple you can find.
I was going to say,
Yeah.
you can
Any
find
triple.
a Belgian triple. Yeah.
Oh yeah, for
Yeah,
sure.
they're
very
all over the
popular.
place,
Yeah.
and they're delicious,
Yeah.
and they're a nice change for your summer lineup if you're just drinking lighter beers for summer.
Was it Guldenzock? Maybe it was. I know Chimay makes
what
it
it was.
I
triple.
bet
but
McKellar must make a triple.
yeah.
I think everybody
And
does
every
these
Belgian
days, pretty
brewery
much.
does,
Yeah, Chimay, definitely.
Chimay for sure. Well, folks, that's it.
Yep.
We will be back
Wait,
at our
Windows 11. I got 17 more minutes. Just
Is there anything more to say about Windows
No.
11 before we go?
We'll be back next week
I think
for
we-
a
I think we've beaten
Windows
that one.
11 Redux. And then 2
Yeah.
weeks from now, we'll find out for sure. Again, a reminder that the June 23rd edition of Windows Weekly will be the following day, right after, or shortly after, about an hour after the Microsoft event. Paul and Mary Jo and I will watch the event live. They will take off to file. Maybe that might be a good time for me to bring up the Discord chat and get people's comments. And then when you guys come back, we will do Windows Weekly on a Thursday.
I think we got to ask Michael Gillette to make a Windows 11 bingo card for this event.
Oh, we should. We totally should. Yep.
Rounded corners.
Rounded corners is the
Gotta be
middle
in there.
square, which will be rounded.
And it's the one thing we almost won't say. Flow. He might
Exactly.
say flow. It'll be interesting.
You got to put
You sunk
Surface
by
Neo
Battleship. Oh, wait,
on
wrong
there.
game.
No, you got to put Neo on there for triple the points or something.
Neo would be so great. And to show off all the wonderful new features of Windows 11, we've created a little something we call the Courier.
It's back.
It's back. Paul Thurrott is at thurrott.com. That's his blog and where he posts all the time. Of course, he does First Ring Daily with Brad on that page as well. Always fun to listen to their thoughts. And, of course, his books, including the Field Guide to Windows 10, available at leanpub.com. Mary Jo Foley's ZDNet blog is at allaboutmicrosoft.com. And together they are the dynamic duo of Windows reportage. And they're here every Wednesday, 11 a.m. Pacific, 2 p.m. Eastern Time, 1800 UTC. You can watch live at twit.tv/live. If you're watching live, chat live at irc.twit.tv. For members of Club Twit, you can go into our Discord. We always open a stage area, often take comments and thoughts and questions from the stage if you want to go in there, but you can also chat in there. Club Twit members also get, of course, ad-free versions of the show. For more information, twit.tv/clubtwit. On-demand shows available on our website for everything we do. For Windows Weekly, it's twit.tv/dubdub. And when you're there, you'll see a YouTube link. So there's also a YouTube channel for all the shows. And you'll see links to the Big Name Podcast clients, but also to an RSS feed, so you can paste that into your client, the client of your choice. That's probably the best way to get it automatically. You don't have to think about it. And if your client offers a place for you to review podcasts, we would all mightily appreciate it if you gave us a 5-star review and told the world of your love for these two, Paul and Mary Jo. Thanks, guys. We'll see you next week on Windows Weekly. Bye-bye.
You may have heard about this story, but are you familiar with the story behind the story? Well, every week on Tech News Weekly, my co-host Micah Sargent and I, Jason Howell, speak to the people who are making and breaking the biggest tech news of the week. We're talking with journalists, we're talking with industry veterans, often we're talking with the people who are responsible for the story. Don't miss Tech News Weekly at twit.tv.